He's been communicating with Mr. Cavell also.
Oh,
Yeah, that's been a good thing also. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Cavell.
This is Anora. Ask yourself over mute to ask your question.
Yeah, Cavell.
What's on?
Okay, let me do this here.
My question
I gotta switch this up.
and those of us who have
Gotta switch up
elderly
the sound.
parents that we may be caretakers for, do about them having
No, you good, Pop.
reverse
I just
I'm
stepped
hearing
away.
something in the background.
I don't know.
My
That's
mother
somebody else.
recently returned to a
Yeah,
home.
that's probably coming from me. Let
And
me
I had a
stop.
terrible time with the second largest mortgage company in this country.
Okay, so
One.
let me stop all of this. Okay, I think that's it. Well, welcome to
The
the
wireless customer you are calling is not available. Please try again later. El cliente de servicio.
I don't know what that is. I don't know. That might have been Sister Martha. Anyway, oh yeah, that was Sister Martha. Yeah. Okay, so we're here. This is Saturday morning programming. This is the Quick
You mean
Hitters
Sunday? You mean
Experience.
Sunday?
This is the Quick Hitters Experience. Vel, Martha Nailah Abdullah. And you know, we are about to start. So do you want to say something before we actually bring in the start, Vel? Too late.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is let's welcome everybody to the Quick Hitters Digital Experience. We're here every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We encourage you to join the experience live by calling 971-379-9162 or going to our freeconferencecall.com and enter the ID A New Day 9 ANEWDA 9. Also, we are on American Muslim 360, which we have a different login piece, and we'll send that information out as well. We have a great show for you today that includes, of course, Real Quick Sports, where we talk basketball. Let's talk real quick, our weekly celebration of hip hop culture. Also, the conversation, the experience in the movement. We discover solutions through dialogue. I am your host, as already been said, Mr. Cavell, and I'm joined by my pops and Sister Martha Nailah. As always, assalamu alaikum to all
Wa
who are
alaikum
listening.
assalam.
alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah.
Well, we have a great show for you as always, so let's get into it. And now, Pop, drop the intro.
Yeah, here we go. You with us today, aka talking about
It's our turn.
It is our turn, and of course, we are here on this great Sunday. This is February 8th, 2026. I'm up here in New York City, and in New York, it is cold. I mean, super cold. So cold that you don't want to go outside if it's not necessary. But of course, if you don't want to go outside, it's also Super Bowl Sunday. And so if you like football, today is the day for the championship game. And I know a lot of people are excited about that. But here on Real Quick Sports, we talk basketball. And so
Yes.
we're going to jump right into it with a real quick rundown. Let's start this thing off. So, Celtics, they come back over the Heat in a tight battle yesterday. The Boston Celtics erased a 22-point deficit to beat the Miami Heat 98-96, highlighted by Jaylen Brown's 29 points and a Derek White late three to seal the win. Sadiq Bey led the Pelicans with 30 points in the rally win over Minnesota. That was in another game. But of course, Boston has been on a tear. What do you think about Boston, man? They don't have Jason Tatum, man, but it looks like they haven't lost a step.
And I was very impressed with Pritchard. I was very impressed with Pritchard. Pritchard was doing his things, man. I mean, he just comes in there, breaks it down, gets to the basket, or they throw it to him and he gets that 3-point shot. Of course, White, he did his thing, of course, especially. And what's interesting how like sometimes when you shoot the three, it's this high loop. that happens, man. And that's what I was
Well, you gotta
noticing.
have that. Well, you gotta have that arch on the ball, man. That's
The
for
arch,
sure.
yes,
Gotta
yes,
have that
yes.
arch.
Yeah, yeah, but sometimes, the arch is not as high, but his arch was what I really saw, that his arch was really high. It was real high. And that's just very interesting to watch because, the longer it stays up in the air, the longer you are asking in your mind, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? Yeah. Sister
Well,
Martha?
I enjoy
You're on mute. Okay, there you go.
Yes,
there you go.
I'm just now trying to open. I don't know why I can't open the document all the time, but alhamdulillah, continue on.
Okay.
Just letting me know the spirit of what's in the basketball NBA.
Well,
Yes, yes.
I tell you what's really interesting about this situation is that the Celtics have a long history of not being liked by NBA fans. And so the fact that there are people rooting for them to succeed is again not a new thing for fans of the Celtics, but I think in general that there has been a shift in the way that people enjoy watching the Celtics, and it has a lot to do with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, uh, young man who came out of Stanford University, well, I thought Cal University, an intellect who walked into the Boston Celtics arena and wasn't necessarily seen as an individual who was going to be a lead franchise player, but over the years has evolved into that position. And with Jason Tatum being hurt last year by ripping his Achilles tendon, it put Jaylen Brown in a position this year where he had to step up and become the leader. And in that, I think there has been a real shift in the way folks want to support them. Why? Jaylen Brown is a young man who is very keen on his culture as a young black man. He talked about when he received his contract, which at the time was the biggest NBA contract in the history of the game, before his teammate Jason Tatum received the biggest NBA contract in the history of the game. Jaylen Brown talked about using that money to build a new Black Wall Street in Boston. And that was, I mean, shocking, I'm sure, for a lot of folks up in the Boston area. And I think it led to people treating him a certain way. But over the last couple of years, he has really shown that regardless of what he is politically and talking about his off court kind of agenda, on the court, he has continued to produce as a basketball player at an extremely high level. And this year, he may even be in the MVP race as he continues to show out for the Boston Celtics. So I'm very impressed with him. I'm very impressed with the Boston Celtics. And as a Knicks fan, I want them to really recognize that there's a challenge over there in Boston, even without Tatum on the floor.
It has always been a challenge with Boston. Always been a challenge. They are a legacy team. They are legacy. They are some of the first teams that ever, came into the Basketball Association and
Right,
played.
right.
And they are proud fan. They have a proud fan base because they have done so much and they've won many championships up there in Boston. What is at one time they were a very European team because Boston is basically a European town, really.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's historical as far as the history of America is concerned. Period.
Period.
Period. So
And then
they are,
also, yeah. No, go ahead, Paul.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. They are proud people, and at one time they were let me see, who was it that the African American player that first started with them? Was it
Bill
Will
Russell.
Chamberlain? Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. Mhm.
Right. So was Bill Russell a response to another team getting Will Chamberlain?
No. Again, Bill Russell was a unique individual in their space because he was uniquely aware of his blackness. He was actually a social activist as well. during the civil rights movement. His house was burnt down during this
In
time
Boston?
in Boston. His house
Wow.
was burnt down while he was there, but he continued to sustain a level of excellence, and this is why Bill Russell is revered. He also has 11 championships. He's also one of the first
Is it
players.
with Boston?
Yes, and he
Wow.
also is one of the first player
Wait a minute,
coaches
Val.
where
Wait
he
a minute,
played.
Val. Wait a minute,
Hold on,
Val.
let me finish this. Let me
Could
finish this.
you
And he
repeat that?
also, yeah, I will. But he also was the first player coach to actually win a championship as the coach and as a player on the same team. So he is revered because he has 11 NBA championships, which is actually the most NBA championships that any player has, and up until today. And so he continues to be a figure in NBA basketball and in the lore of Boston. So again, it's a place where, yes, it has its history, but today, again, Jaylen Brown leading the team in the way that he's leading the team has changed some minds, man, about Boston. And, at times people root. As a matter of fact, I went to see a Nets game where the Nets played against Boston maybe 2 weeks ago. And there were so many Boston fans in the arena.
Right. Yeah.
It was amazing, and to
Yeah.
see him up
Support.
close and personal, he's really good, as well as Pritchard. Let's not forget Pritchard, as you mentioned. Pritchard
Yes.
is extremely good. His jump shot is extremely reliable as a
Yes.
player, and again, he impacts the game consistently.
Yeah.
And again, we have to give big ups to them. Let's move on to the Pistons. The Pistons dominated the
Oh, wait a
Knicks.
minute. Miss, maybe Sister Martha had something she wanted to say about that.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah. You're on mute.
No,
Okay, D.
no, I'm good. My mind was wrapping around Larry Bird as you were talking about the Celtics.
Yes.
Love to
Yes.
Hmm.
hate, but alhamdulillah.
Another legend, in Boston legend. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The Pistons, they dominated the Knicks. Detroit routed New York 118-80, halting the Knicks' 8-game winning streak and delivering one of the most decisive results of the week. Oh man. What can you say about the resurgence of Detroit and the Knicks struggling through this game? And again, it had to do somewhat with the Knicks not having everybody on the floor. A lot of the players were injured, including Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby. Well, no, Josh Hart was playing, but OG
Right.
Anunoby was also off of the floor.
Yeah.
So their
Yeah.
starting five wasn't really together. And Jalen Brunson, man, was hounded all night long by those long Detroit defenders. It was a tough night for the Knicks.
And what they did is, I think what they did also is they took him out after they saw how far down that they were, and they put in the other players. So it was like I felt that they kind of gave the game away to some degree. It's like we're not going to catch him, or we don't want Jalen and the others playing that hard because they're in a good spot. And so it was like something like, and let's give the other players that don't play that much because we're down so much. Let's go ahead and give them an opportunity to go ahead and shine.
It
And they
makes
did.
sense.
They didn't, but at least they played.
Well, again, when you look at where the Knicks are at, the Knicks are 33-19. The Detroit Pistons are 38-13, 38-13, leading the East as the number one team in the East. And there's a reason why. It's because they are a very good team. They have some really long players. The defense is strong. Their point guard, Cade Cunningham, has come into his own. He's an all-star this year. They have
Yes.
strong post play with Jalen Duren, who is a young, strong basketball player. So they've got a lot going on, including Isaiah Stewart, whose nickname is
Oh
Beef
my God.
Stew,
Oh
who
my
is like
God.
who is their enforcer. And it
But,
reminds
but
us of
Val,
the days when it was the bad boy Pistons.
Val, was it Stewart that stole the ball and took 7 steps to get to the basket to lay it up? Did you see that? He looked
Man,
like he
listen.
walked he did 7 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I was like, yo, man, I mean, I had to watch that about 10 times. Just to make sure. Did this guy really walk? Do
He
they actually
traveled then,
call
huh?
do they call walk anymore as far as the league is
Well,
concerned?
I think that what has happened
Wait a
over
minute,
the
Sister Martha,
years.
hold on, fellas.
Yeah,
Sister
I was
Martha.
saying traveling. I think
Yeah, it's called traveling. Yeah,
LeBron
yeah.
changed the method to a four-step because they couldn't keep up. The referees couldn't keep up with his steps.
But I mean, it was just obvious what Stewart did. It was 7. It was one. I counted the
Ah,
steps. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Got to the basket, and it was
listen,
no call.
let me tell you something, man. There has been this controversy in the league for a while, where the referees in instances they allow for players to take more steps than usual, and it is obvious at times that it's a travel. Excuse me, but they're not going to call it for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason. But young players are taught, and everyone is taught when it comes down to how many steps you get, there is 1, 2 steps. It's 2 steps to a back to a move. But then I've talked to younger people who are looking at the rules, and they say that in the rule book, when you look at the actual traveling rule, that there are exceptions to the 1, 2. I don't think it's proper, especially if you're going to teach it as 1, 2 to a layup. But they have these other ways in which they're describing it today, and they're allowing it to happen. The referees are allowing it to happen. So again, we can count them as anomalies, or we can just say, listen, um, in the NBA things are different. In the
Yeah,
NBA things are different. There's
yeah.
something that they may not allow in elementary school or high school or college. They allow
Okay,
people to get away with in the NBA.
okay, okay.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I got it. Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah.
see the sense that it makes.
Nah, to some
Yeah,
degree.
yeah.
The Bucks are on the rise. The Milwaukee Bucks snapped a losing stretch with a 105-99 win over the Pacers, paced by Kevin Porter Jr.'s 23 points and Ryan Rollins' 22 points. Um, uh, this is something to discuss. The Bucks are in a really tough situation, right? They won this game, but their record is 21-29. They beat a Pacers team that's 13-39, right? So when you talk about who they beat, number one, they beat someone who's terrible. They themselves, though, are also terrible, and they're going through a saga right now. And you may have heard, I'm sure you have, with Giannis Antetokounmpo and the fact that he wants to be traded, but the trade deadline now has passed by, and so he remains with the team.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I saw that game, and uh, you know, when you said the whole thing about when you talked about the statistics of it, I did recognize that, on a combo, that he was missing. I did recognize that, but
Hmm.
it wasn't. I didn't find it to be an impressive game at all. I was really kind of bored with it. No
Hmm.
disrespect, not showing any disrespect to the teams, but I'm just saying I don't think that it had the energy that I really look for when I watch basketball. So, and then it's like, okay, all right, it's two teams, it's the Bucks, and it's like the Pacers. Yeah, that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, I do think that at this point, the Pacers and the Bucks are in a position where they're looking to really save players and let the younger players play, similar to what you said about the Knicks,
Yeah,
when the Knicks kind of like put the other guys out on the floor and gave them some
yeah,
time to get in there.
yeah,
The Bucks and the Pacers are in the same vein when it comes to the players that they're putting out on the floor. They realize that they don't have their star players and that they're not playing for anything in particular. They're really playing to get to the draft, right? And see if they can get a player in the 2026 NBA draft that may assist them. The Pacers are waiting for Tyrese Halliburton to come back from his Achilles injury that he received last year in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals with the Knicks. So I think that they're ready to kind of move on. And the Milwaukee Bucks are in a bad situation with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who at the end of the season is going to go somewhere else. But
Mm.
between time, he has been injured with a calf injury, and he's projected to be out. So who knows if he'll actually play for the rest of the year? Maybe he'll come back a couple of games and whatnot. But really, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Pacers are kind of in what is a tanking mode, meaning they're trying to lose as many games as they possibly can to get in a position to get the best
Wow.
possible draft pick in 2026 summer.
Sister Martha, you have anything you'd like to say about that before I say something?
No, take it away.
Unbelievable. Well, I don't want to say it's unbelievable because I know this here is strategy, management strategy. That
Mm,
management strategy is doing that because the whole idea of playing basketball is to win. But I mean, when you have come to the point
mm,
where, it's best for you to lose so that you can get draft position.
mm.
What does that say? These strategies that these teams have, I guess they go against, the whole idea about, what it winds up being the politics of basketball. That's what it winds up being.
And it is basketball. We talk about this all the time. Basketball is a business. And the business of basketball is to figure out how you put yourself in a position to win, right? When you talk about teams who are at the bottom, right? A team like the Pacers, a team like the Bucks, a team like the Washington Wizards, those teams are trying to figure out how to come out of the basement, right? Get out of the doldrums. And it's not going to be with the players that they currently have. And when you come to this point of the season, where you're pretty much at the halfway point of the 82 game season, next weekend will be the All-Star break, in which, the NBA teams get a short break. I think it's maybe 10 days, 11 days, where they can rest up, and prepare for the second part of the season. You already have assessed how much and how far you'll be able to go regarding your goals in basketball, which is to get into the playoffs and have an opportunity to get to a championship where you could possibly win one. The teams at the bottom, they know that that's not going to happen for them at this point, and so now they're going to tank, right? And this tanking thing wasn't a thing during, say, the 80s and the 90s. People really played hard trying to pull themselves out of the basement, trying to make a run to get into the playoffs, or at least play hard so that the fans who came out to see them and paid money, right, to come into the arena would get a good product, right, would at least see a good game, right? It was about entertaining the fans, not just about making money, right? And saving your star players for the next season. It was about uh, that kid who was coming to a basketball game for the first time, and the NBA wanted to make sure you might have a fan for life. And so, hey, we want to give the best effort that we possibly can and pushing for that. Today, the tanking, right, is all about making sure that the business positions itself to move into contention for either a free agent in the summer or a top draft pick in the draft that is going to come up in the summer. But it isn't the way we should want basketball to be played. It isn't the thing that I think fans of basketball respect when a team is going out there to lose every single night because they don't want to position themselves to lose out on a draft
On a draft, yeah.
possibility or on a
Yeah,
free agent that actually might be in play come the summer.
Sister Martha?
yes, yes. I was going to say, you used to see that more so in NFL.
Right,
NFL was known to go ahead and throw the towel in.
right.
But basketball, you didn't see it because of the triumph of the coaches and the young players playing, and they're getting their stats to a degree, to the point of, I don't know, it was more flashy, especially with the Jordan era.
Right.
That competition just it was right there. So alhamdulillah, and now I'm getting re-engaged with basketball because my love is over in NFL because I kind of.
Oh man, and
Yeah,
I tell you that is something that, again, it is something that we're glad that we're able to share with you and get you excited about it as well, because the NFL, their season is going to be over today, right? And the NBA will continue
right.
all the way
Yes,
into June, right? And the games are different. The games are different, and I
Hmm.
do believe, I was talking to my son earlier today and telling him that when I was a young man, my first love was baseball. I
Hmm.
really loved
I
baseball, and
love
I
baseball.
would go out. I had the gloves and the bats, and I played softball, and I used to dive on the concrete, slide on the concrete. As a young man, I knew all the teams. I had all the baseball hats, and you know,
Cards.
right, baseball cards. I loved baseball. But when basketball came into my life, probably around 1982, something like that, 1983, and I really began to, and I always played basketball, but the introduction to the NBA and recognizing some of the great players, in particular, my first really um, favorite player was Bernard King. Bernard King played for the New York Knicks, and
yes.
he was so good that I just loved and fell in love with his game.
Yeah, Sister Martha, let me ask you, which team came first down here in Florida, if you know? Was it the Miami Heat or Orlando? Which one was that?
With
Um,
basketball,
yeah.
it was a Miami Heat because Orlando was the new kid on the block and got all the attention with
Hmm.
Shaquille O'Neal and Hardaway
Right,
and Anderson
Nick
uh,
Anderson, right?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
they were the dream team on a one
Mm-hmm.
team stand up.
Yeah,
Miami Heat held its own. I mean, no
yeah,
shadow of a doubt, Miami Heat held its own. But Orlando Magic, just that the marketing was
right.
dynamic, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
then everybody wanted to come and pick from them too, like they do with the uh, the Tampa Bay Rays. I want to say St. Pete because the dome is in St. Petersburg, but the Tampa Bay Rays baseball team, you get the great players, and all of a sudden they get picked.
Yeah.
So,
What's
alhamdulillah. But yeah,
what's
Orlando
interesting,
Magic.
I think baseball was America's first favorite sport.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Dodgers #1.
well, I think that baseball was America's first favorite sport, especially with the introduction of Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle,
Uh-huh.
and all those guys, so and then you had them on the cards and all the rest of that. Um, but then with the introduction of the first black baseball player, what was his name?
The one who
Uh,
was in the service, and they brought him in.
yeah, what was his name?
Jackie
Jackie
Robinson.
Jackie
Robinson.
Robinson. With Jackie Robinson as an introduction, it's like the owner of the team brought him in so that they could win.
Yeah, and the Dodgers.
That's
That was
it.
my mother and them used to listen to it in the car.
Yeah,
Everybody when they
Right.
played,
and
Jackie
that's
was.
what it was all about, and that's what it has been in all these sports. What happened? What was It was the same thing with football, and the same thing with basketball. And if we even go further, that when we talk about international players are bought in for the sake of adding to the team so that they can win. So there's something that's political about it. That the owners have to make decisions as far as these things, to put themselves in a position as far as making money and winning.
Mm-hmm.
Making money and winning. That's
And
Well,
what's
when.
I'll tell you this here. There was a time when an owner owned a basketball team because they loved basketball.
Mhm.
Because basketball is not a profitable area for a businessman, right? There is a lot of money that has to go into it. And of course, it's a gamble, right? If you're going to be good, if you're not going to be good. A lot of these people loved basketball. And so that's why they bought a basketball team. They didn't buy a basketball team just because they wanted to make money. Obviously, money is an issue for a businessman, but they loved the team. They loved being the owner of a basketball team. So, for instance, um, in LA, when you had the owner Jerry Buss. Jerry Buss loved basketball. And because he loved basketball so much, he only really had that business. Like his business was the Los Angeles Lakers. He didn't have another business. That was his business. And because of it, he loved his team to the utmost. And his team is still and was run, sorry, it was run by his family for years after he passed away, right? It was only last year that the Lakers were sold to another businessman who came in and bought the Lakers for business purposes, right? And the price that he paid was $10 billion, right? He paid $10 billion for the Laker brand, right? Because that brand is an international brand. When you see the yellow and the purple and yellow, you know that that's the Lakers colors. You know that that's related to the Lakers. And again, bringing in Luka Doncic now adds the next piece, which you just said, an international player who can now sell tickets, sell jerseys, sell the brand of the Lakers to the rest of the world. And that's something that, again, is a place where the NBA is at the moment, which
Mm-hmm.
is they are about having businesses and business people come in and really invest highly in the product, knowing that this product is about to become a international game, like say for instance soccer, rugby, right? Those games that are overseas, baseball, which is
Mm-hmm.
played in other countries at a high level, right? Basketball is about to make that move as well into the international space, and you need money to do that. You just can't have small pockets to make that international move because you're going to have to build a stadium over in London or
Mm-hmm.
in Dubai. You're going to have to be able to transport players from Dubai to the United States on private planes. This stuff is all going to cost a lot of money. And so, again, the business of basketball always kind of has to be in our forefront today, even though we know that they have great players and the product is still very good, and particularly this year.
Now,
You,
I would inject too the idea of a ball.
Hmm.
A ball. It is the center of all these sports. The ball, even the
yes,
golf ball.
yes,
Hmm.
yes.
It
The
is all
tennis
about
ball,
the
the golf
ball.
ball, yeah, the ball, yeah. You know, I did some that's an interesting idea for us. I did some research just now and asked the question, what was the original seating of Madison Square Garden?
Hmm.
And they said it was 10,000. So, well, what is the seating today? It's 19,000. Uh,
Hmm.
Now, I asked what was the original seating of Yankee Stadium, and their seating was that it went from 56,000 to something like 82,000. It's like,
Hmm.
I
Yep.
mean, but I'm sure since you mentioned it, I think that it was all for, this idea, that you're talking about, Cavell, as far as, they have to make money, but they have to give out a lot of money, but in order to make money, they have to, get those people in the seats. So, that's interesting.
Very interesting. And I tell you, it has its thing, it has its place, but it has exploded. Basketball, I'm talking about, exploded in popularity so much so that even though the arenas are smaller, the amount of money that can be generated from star players is astronomical because again, you're not just selling the sport or the skill, you're also selling jerseys, you're also selling sneakers, you're also selling beverages. These people, these basketball players are internationally known. Different from football where they wear helmets. And so you don't always know who those players are. Different from baseball, where baseball, you have so many people on the team that are out on the floor. You have at least 10 people out on the floor at the same time. There's multiple pitches. You may not know all of these guys, right? But in basketball, there's five on one side, five on the other, and usually there are two stars on the team, and people are following these stars relentlessly. There are 82 games. There's the playoffs, and there is the championship season, the preseason, the summer league. There are so many opportunities to see these men and grow close to them, right? Grow close to who they are as people. Sister Martha.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm saying to myself, now and this is not to be contentious with football, basketball, but
Mm-hmm.
the quarterback
Right,
and the pitcher in
right,
baseball, the
right.
quarterback and the pitcher. We hook our claws into them, but certainly on the basketball, on the center and the shooter, the guard, we tend to see them, especially the
Mm-hmm.
guard. I
Mm-hmm.
know I do. But I
Mm-hmm.
look for that center and I look for that defense, as a defender under the basket. So I'm interested in how the teamwork is, the camaraderie while they're playing the basketball, while
Mm-hmm.
they're playing. And then I ask myself, how do they unravel in the locker room sometimes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There is also a closeness too in basketball that's
Hmm.
different from football and baseball. The baseball field has a divider, right? The fans aren't right on the field, right? Football, the fans are not right on the field. But when you talk about basketball, the fans are literally right there next to you. And they get to interact with the basketball players in a different way than the other sports get to interact with the stars in their sport. And so that also plays into it, right? Is this interactivity that you get from the closeness that fans have to the basketball players. Again, and there is no covering of the face.
Yeah.
There is an opportunity to get to know them, and you feel like you know them. It's very important. You call them by their names. That's like we don't call them Jalen Brown. We say, "Yo, there go Jalen." We don't say there goes LeBron James. We say there go Braun.
Uh-huh.
There is this feeling that you own them or like they're a friend of yours,
Hmm.
right? And they've been able to really play on that as a business and really maximize the attention that basketball has to grow it over the last 20, 30 years. It is incredible. Let's move on real quick to the
Okay.
Trailblazers, who shine in a blowout win. Portland beat Memphis 135 to 115, snapping a six-game skid behind a balanced team effort led by Scott Henderson, Scoot Henderson, Jeremy Grant, and a reinvigorated bench. The trade deadline came, and the trade deadline was over on February 5th. What the trade deadline is there is a period of time in the NBA in which the teams can give players from one team to the other. And then that period of time ends on February 5th. So it ended on Thursday, this past Thursday at 3 p.m. And
Hmm.
a bunch of teams made moves that sent players into different spaces. Earlier, you heard me talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, and the fact that many people thought that Giannis would have been traded by February 5th to another team, and it didn't happen. But there were other trades that occurred, including the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies, who lost to Portland, they
Hmm.
traded one of their guys, Jaren Jackson II, Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Utah Jazz it was unexpected because the Memphis Grizzlies also have a star player on their team, Ja Morant. And
Right.
Ja Morant has had a number of controversies out there in Memphis. And just like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who we thought would have been traded before the trade deadline, we also believe that Ja Morant would have been out of there and traded to your Miami Heat down there,
Come
Sister
on.
Martha.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also talk of Giannis being traded to the
Really?
Miami Heat. So we thought that there was going to be some movement for Ja out of
Mm-hmm.
Memphis, but
Uh-huh.
they kept Ja and traded Jaren Jackson Jr., which was a complete surprise to many people who watched the game. So again,
So let me ask you a question. Let me
Memphis
ask
is in
you,
a rebuilding
yeah,
phase as well. Go ahead.
yeah. Let me ask you this here: does the player have anything to say about the trade, or does the manager go ahead and trade them at his will?
So there are, and let's talk specifically about Giannis and Ja. Ja, he has lost value in terms of how many teams really want him based on the incidents that have happened around him. He's been diminished in terms of his value. And because of that, I think maybe they kept him because they couldn't get enough back in return in a trade that would have included him.
Ja Morant, the
Exactly.
superstar, has lost value.
Again, again, he hasn't played well after the incidents that have occurred. He's lost his love of the game because of the business of the game, right? And we keep talking about that. He's lost his love of the game because of the business of the game. He he isn't as exciting because I don't think he is excited to go to work every day and go out on the floor and play. And so many teams know that the Memphis Grizzlies want to get rid of him and have probably offered way less than they would have had he been at the top of his game.
Wow. That's wow, Val.
Yeah.
I say that on the basis of the player, I think it was Paul George, who had a problem as far as mental situation.
Oh,
Was it?
where he is now suspended for
Yeah,
25 games because
yeah.
they say he took a performance enhancing drug, which he then said no, it was a pill he was taking or medication he was taking for mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he
So,
had
so
exposed that before.
yeah,
He
but I
had.
mean, does this say Paul George and this loss of love for the basketball game? Is this like it seems like it might be connected to mental health?
Think pressure is a part of playing basketball. And when you have been at the top of the mountain, as Ja Morant has been, Ja Morant was tapped to become the next face of the NBA. He wasn't just going to be another player that was a great player, a superstar. He was going to be the guy that was going to be pushed as the next face of the NBA. He, with the incident with the gun, right?
Oh yeah, that's
That was
kind of yeah,
shown, right?
yeah,
That was shown with him, at a party, and he
yeah,
brandished the gun.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
changed the way in which he was viewed as a potential face of the NBA.
But that was so
Again,
long ago, Val.
well, the stereotype around black folks and violence, right? Again, plays into this, right? If I'm going to make you the face of my league, you've got to be LeBron James. Have you ever heard of LeBron James being in any trouble?
Nope.
You've got to be Steph Curry. Have you ever heard of Steph Curry getting into any trouble?
Nope.
You have got to be Kevin Durant. Have you ever heard of Kevin Durant in any trouble?
No sprawling, no spalling, no nothing.
So the thing is that if you are going to be the face of the NBA, you had to make sure that you don't have any incidents that put you in a box, which you can easily be put in making one simple mistake. And as a young man who came from a position where he didn't have that opportunity to becoming the guy, he made a mistake that is haunting him right now. And it is
Mhm.
time for him to leave Memphis. And we all thought leading up to the trade deadline, which was this Thursday, that
Hmm.
he would have been traded somewhere so that he could begin again. But that
It
did not
hurts
happen.
my heart, man. It hurts
Yeah.
my heart. It hurts my heart that a young black man, I mean, this is something that's repeated over and over and over again. That you make one mistake and they don't and all of a sudden they turn against you. No, and it don't matter how much talent you have or anything, that they will hold it over you. They will hold it over you. I mean, this, I just hope, and my prayer, and I think our prayer
Hmm.
should be that, like that it doesn't really hurt him individually too much, but
Yes.
that's what it kind of sounds like that it's, I mean, because this guy has been phenomenal, man, as far as the
Well,
game is concerned,
well, again, let me say this though. But redemption is something that we know is possible because there have been many people who have had these things occur in our culture and have had redemption. Look at Kobe Bryant.
Hmm. Oh,
Kobe Bryant
yes.
in 2003 was accused of sexual assault, and he was favorited. People loved Kobe Bryant. He had won 3 championships, right? He was on top of the world.
Hmm.
And then that one situation caused him to change his entire demeanor. And he came back and he knew that people didn't like him. Because he knew people didn't like him, he took it personal and became the second coming of Kobe Bryant when he turned into the Black Mamba. And all of a sudden, he was a problem. And he won 2 more championships and is beloved and would have, rest in peace, would have
Yes.
still been beloved had he not passed away because of his story of redemption, right?
Yes.
So these things happen to people. And again, we are looking at Ja and saying we want Ja to do the same thing, have another opportunity to get out there and use this as fuel to become a greater presence of himself than he was before, recognizing the privilege, recognizing the opportunity that he
Hmm.
has to be a basketball player in the NBA and play a sport that he loves.
I
I
have
got
one comment, question on what are your thoughts about Charles Barkley when he went through his debut of brawling in the bar and
Oh,
then coming out and saying he made a social, he hit the pulse of the social arena when he said, I am not your and he didn't say hero, what is it,
role
your
model.
role
role
model,
model.
your
Yeah. Mhm.
parents. He reflected back on your parents or your role model, so it
That's right.
didn't damage his playing. I mean, you just gonna watch Charles Barkley either way, like such as who with the different color hair, Ro-
Rodman.
Rodman. You were gonna watch
Hmm.
Rodman whether he dressed in that dress or had his tattoos
That's
or,
true. That's true.
you know what I mean. You were gonna
That's
watch him
true.
because you love to watch him.
It-
So
it-
alhamdulillah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, another thing about that is that the game of basketball and the NBA realized that entertainment is the reason why people tune in. It's not just for great basketball. It's for
Yeah,
entertainment. And if you
yeah,
have entertaining personalities who are able to capture the average folks' attention, it's not just people who love basketball, who understand basketball, but it is the average individual who has absolutely no clue who is on the basketball team or what a pick and roll is or what a 3-pointer is versus a dunk or what's a and one, right? They don't know any of this stuff, but they know that the guy with the funny hair who had on a dress was on TV the other day and he plays for the Chicago Bulls, right? The guy who, and this is coming back to Ja, right? What people who are average fans found out about John Morant, aside from the fact that he could jump really high, was that he had a gun. And then there was a second incident where there was a second video of him with a gun. The average person got to see that. That was reported on CNN. That wasn't just on Sports Center, right? So because of that, the average person gets to pay attention to the entertainment of the game. Somebody said this to me recently, that the NBA or sports is a man's or a sports fan's soap opera.
Yeah, but I will say this here. I will say this also. I will say that Ja Morant has fans that's going to stick with him through thick and thin.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
that,
Oh
that
yeah.
all of us may have basketball players that we like so much, it doesn't matter what happens. If we know that they're on the court, we're going to watch them. Michael Jordan had that kind of flair. Even though they said that he was a gambler and he stayed up all
Mm-hmm.
night and all those negative things. If Michael Jordan was going to be on the court, yo, I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to give him
Charles
a
Barkley,
pass.
Charles Barkley, the same thing as what
Yes.
Sister Martha just said. You were gonna watch Charles Barkley
You
play.
gonna watch
Yeah.
Charles Barkley.
Well,
You were gonna watch him play.
mine was Kyrie Irving. That I don't
Hmm.
care what, man. I don't care what team. I followed Charles Barkley. I was pissed off at the Nets when they got when they, all that stuff came up against him, as far
With
as
Kyrie.
COVID. Yeah,
With
yeah.
Kyrie.
Kyrie.
COVID and this here, and it looked like they were trying to blackball him. And then, when he left the Nets and he went to the Dallas Mavericks,
Mm-hmm.
the Nets suffered. They suffered,
No question. He's
and
one of the
and
greatest.
and
He's one of the greatest players in NBA history.
I
that's
mean,
right. People, because people are going to follow him. They're going to follow him because they like the way. So I think that would be the same situation with Ja Morant. I just pray that it doesn't affect him to the point where he loses his spark. Because Kyrie didn't lose his spark. Michael
right,
Jordan didn't lose his spark.
right,
The players that they don't lose their spark, and as long as you don't lose your spark, people gonna be with you. But when you lose your spark, man, I mean,
You said something very important, and it goes back to what you said about mental health. A lot of
mm-hmm.
basketball players say that the stuff that happens off the court is troubling. And when they go in between the lines, that 94 feet is their therapy, right?
Mm.
That's why they play the game. The game is their therapy. And so once they're on the court, in between the line, in the locker room with their other teammates, when they're out on the floor competing, that is where their mind is at ease. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, that is what we want for John Morant. But let's move on real quick to this last
Okay.
piece, which we'll talk
yes.
about the Clippers. Another situation. Kawhi Leonard scored 31 points to lift a shorthanded Los Angeles Clippers to a 114-111 win over Sacramento, showcasing veteran experience in a close game. Kawhi,
Mm-hmm.
also an individual who's dealing with a challenging situation that came up earlier in the year where he was accused of receiving $48 million from a defunct, I believe it was energy drink or athletic brand that supposedly was put in place by his team's owner. Uh, Forget his first name. His name is Balmer, Steve Ballmer. That they put this in play because they wanted to give him a max contract, but weren't able to sign all of their players. So they used this uh, company, this athletic company, to pay him an extra $48 million. And so Kawhi has that hanging over him. The team, they did trade away James Harden. They traded away
Mm.
another one of their players, Ivica Zubac, who was also very impactful. And the Clippers had been on, over the last 21 games, a 17-4 run as a complete team. So the fact that they've broken this team up, and Kawhi still remains, has some questions in the air if Kawhi will still remain once the season is over for the Los Angeles Clippers. But
Mm-hmm.
they got another win. And again, coming back to the business of basketball, which we discuss all of the time, just another situation that's out there around one of the star players.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah. Go ahead,
so
Mark.
what do? Well, I'm wondering, how do they find out these financial loopholes in the, you
It's
know,
business. It's business.
but
They
I'm saying,
create them.
but
They
you think
create them.
there's a, just like with anything else, that there's this person behind the scene, part of the whole framework, that's getting monies to talk.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's business. And I mean, what's wrong with the owner trying to working out a deal with him for a to represent a
Yeah,
beverage
no, I'm
company?
saying, how
What's
do they
wrong with it?
find it
Why
out?
hold that? Why hold that, over his head to
That's
some
what I
degree?
mean. Right.
Yeah,
That's what I mean. How does
yeah.
that information get from behind closed doors?
Oh well,
I
yeah.
I well, I think that there are to answer your question specifically, Sister Martha, there are individuals who may feel as though they've been slighted in some way.
Mm.
Usually, right, that's the situation. Someone feels slighted in a circumstance, and due to that, they will whistle blow, right?
Mhm.
And so someone blew the whistle on this scenario with regards to Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer. And again, this is something that
And it don't
isn't
have to be true.
new.
Right,
Well, and right, it's being investigated. We
right.
Right.
are not saying that this is the circumstance, but again, uh, basketball has always had a funny money kind of situation going on. When high school players were coming out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, the college teams would offer them all kinds of stuff. They'd offer the parents a new house. They'd offer the parents a new car. They'd offer
Mm-hmm.
the family $60,000 or $70,000, and they wouldn't do it. But they'd have someone called a booster
Mm-hmm.
who
Mm-hmm.
A
represented the
lobbyist,
college,
a
right? A
Mm-hmm.
lobbyist,
lobbyist, right?
right?
Someone who would represent, hey, I'm just doing this because the kid is, a friend of ours. We know his family, and it would be hidden. So they were always doing this. And the same thing true of the NBA. I'm sure there have been hand to hands with duffel bags full of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or envelopes full of money. But now in this day and age where there are so many ways to monitor money, especially digital ways to monitor money and its
Yeah.
transference,
Uh-huh.
it's harder to hide these things, right? And so there are trails that are being left, and it's possible that the trail that was left involving this situation with the $48 million may be one that Steve Ballmer and Kawhi cannot get around. Yet and still, the investigation continues. Kawhi Leonard continues to play. Steve
Mm-hmm.
Ballmer, he has been suspended from being in the arena. So he used to be in the arena for every single game that was
Every
in
single
LA.
game.
And
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
now he has been banned. He can't be
Wow.
at the games. And again,
His
Kawhi
own
wasn't
team,
banned.
his own
Yes.
team.
And again, he's an owner, right? So this was a decision that was made not only by the NBA, but the NBA owners had to
Mm.
sign off on this,
Mm.
Wow.
Now
right?
that's
Because that's real.
now, but my mind, I'm going to, that's separate, totally different than uh what the referees were found. Some referees were found betting on the games or throwing, and they weren't betting. No, that's baseball where the betting was. Uh,
Right,
and then the referees were caught, but they were receiving monies, but they were not calling certain penalties or something, whatever the referees, or there was one referee in particular. But
right. Mm-hmm.
that's different because, you can go back to the play game step by step and see that. But people making monies on the inside, not to throw the game or anything like that. Anyway, I'll leave that part right there then.
Well, again, I think there have been suspicions, and it does play into the NBA. It has. There was just an issue with a gambling with a player on the Miami Heat down there. His
Mhm.
name is Terry Rozier. Terry
Uh-huh.
Rozier was convicted, well, not convicted, but he was accused of gambling and was suspended indefinitely for a while. But after the investigation, it was proven that he wasn't a part of this, and so he is now reinstated into the NBA and is going to be looking for a team to actually go play for. But
Mm-hmm.
gambling is a big part of what it is that sports is like right now. Of course, with MGM and what is the other one? FanDuel
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
some of the other betting apps
Right.
that are
Mm-hmm.
Right.
out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You have gambling becoming something that is more normalized in
Yeah.
sports, even though it used to be frowned upon. It is now a
That's right.
part of what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, man, we have the greatest conversations. This,
Yeah.
my friends, has been Real Quick Sports. We are about to transition over into our next segment for the day, which is Let's Talk Real Quick. Papa
Okay.
Doc, you know what we do right here, man. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Words of power, words of power,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
words of power, words of power, say it ain't so,
So
but you
you
already
already know.
know. You already know we in here, and we are now in our segment that we talk about hip hop, and it's called Let's Talk Real Quick, where we celebrate hip hop and hip hop culture. And of course, just like when we talk about Real Quick Sports, we are talking about not only the art of it, but the business of it. And today we start off with quick hits, and we are going to look at a celebrity who is controversial, but as a rapper is truly incredible, and his name is Meek Mill. All right. Meek Mill, who uses the stage name Meek Mill, is an American rapper, and he is considered an activist for criminal justice reform. Born in
Mm.
1987, he was raised in North Philadelphia, where he started his career as a battle rapper and in a short lived group called the Bloodhounds.
Oh,
His solo mixtapes caught the attention of T.I. and Grand Hustle label, and he is best known for his album Dreams and Nightmares. He also signed with um, Rick Ross, who has his own label called Maybach Music, in which Meek is one of his elite artists. Meek Mill has some really great music, man, that has been put out. And one of the first songs that we're going to check out is it, and of course, Pop, always clean versions.
yeah. But Vel, I think because
Go
I
ahead, Pop.
see
No, I see you, Pop. Go ahead. Let's see what you got to say.
I see uh, the best song that Meek Mill's have. You don't even have it on here, man.
What you mean?
Championships.
Well, again, if you like championships, that's cool. I mean, again, you can play championships. You can play championships. This is just the list that I put together.
Right.
There are
Okay.
actually a couple of
Okay.
songs on here that I think,
Right.
we will definitely talk about that are
Right.
favorites of mine. But you like championships, go ahead and play
No,
championships.
we'll leave that to the end. We'll leave that one to
Oh,
the
no,
end
we're not gonna
because
leave that to the end because at the end we're gonna play my favorite.
well, oh man, listen, we can't do that because see, the thing is that because my favorite is wisdom is him dropping wisdom. All the rest of these tracks that you got here, man, is cultural is cultural, man. So that's why I'm
Oh
saying, man,
man,
go ahead and do it.
listen, let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. First and foremost, we check. Let's go ahead and rock a little bit of check. Let's just rock a little bit of check. As we do, we just play a little bit and then
Okay, so
we'll move on.
what we want to do though with Sister Martha is we want to pull up the disclaimer, Sister Martha.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
pull up the
Okay,
disclaimer.
let's go
Okay.
there.
Because we
One
want
moment.
everybody to know, that this is important. This is what we're getting ready to play is important for the culture, and that there may be some things that say Negro or something like that there
Uh-huh.
that that you might hear that may be a problem. It's going to be clean. It's the clean version, but this here is the slang and vernacular of the culture that we're dealing with hip hop culture, and we're doing it out of respect and regard. That we're not making any money off of it, but we're recognizing these artists the contribution that they're actually making to the culture, because this is cultural insights.
You already
Indeed.
know.
The quick hitters experience. Yeah, go ahead, Sister Martha. You have it.
All right. You can hear me. American Muslim 360 disclaimer. The contents of the American Muslim 360 Broadcasting Network is intended for general information and community service purposes only. Views expressed by hosts or guests are their own and not necessarily the official position of AM360 or the parent corporation, Community Wide Shore Conference, Inc., CWSC, or its board of directors. Content is not designed to provide specific and personal medical, financial, legal, counseling, or other professional advice. No liability, explicit or implied, shall extend to hosts, AM360, or CWSC. We encourage you to consult an advisor for your specific circumstance.
Thank you. And
Thank
now,
you.
this is Meek Mill, the clean version for check. Wait a minute, I had it. Oh, wait. Wait a minute. That's not the clean. Oh man. I apologize.
The interesting part is that we can't really hear it. But let me just say, there we go.
It's not coming across clear here.
Right, it doesn't come across clear. But what we'll do is I'll just
It's
read
not
a little
coming in
bit.
clear.
I'll just read a little bit from the song Check, right? Check verse 2. Count up that money, they know we balling for sure. We stack them 50s and hundreds and leave the ones on the floor. I tell her get what she wanted, I bet she coming for sure. Then be flocking soon as we come in the door. Young people mess around, check up your main, busting down the rolly diamond, dealing with the rain. I do what I wanna. I go places you can't go. Leaning in this Johns, the Phantom, the Kango. I go around the place all with the jet. You messing with them chicks? Pay a check, check, check. Right. So Meek Mill. The thing about Mill is that he has a unique delivery to his lyrics. He is passionate in the way that he flows. His lyrics are representative of a street culture that comes out of Philadelphia, which really is aggressive in terms of its battle style. He is and has been connected to battle rap from when he was a younger gentleman, when he was a teenager. And there were some famous clips of him battling out in Philadelphia where, it was really clear that he was hungry to be successful as an MC. One of the things that again attracts people to Meek Mill is the passion in which he delivers his lyrics and the quality of the written word that he puts down. Again, reflects the culture, not always in the way in which people of another generation may think is incredible. But when you talk about the culture of MCs and the way in which we as lyricists look at the putting together of lyrics and the delivery of flow, Meek Mill is one of the best when it comes to that particular part of being an MC. And so again, his subject matter may not always be the subject matter that someone would want to necessarily reflect, but at the same time, he comes from a place where he is giving the opinion, the flavor and fervor that comes from that subculture that exists in our particular neighborhoods. Pop.
Yeah, I let me tell you, I listen to Meek Mills and I listen to these tracks and I get it. I get it. I get
Mm-hmm.
where he's coming from. And the reason why I get where he was coming from, because I used to make up lyrics just like this. Just sit right back and you hear a tale of a bad street. And if you ever tried messing with us, you'd wind up under 6 feet. You know, oh, it started one day in the candy store when my man Youngblood took the floor. Let's make up a gang, is what he said. A gang said Dougie Doug El Diver and Red. So I'm talking about spitting from what is actually happening in the
Right.
streets where I'm living. And I
Right.
went down to, and I was in Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, it was me and Misunderstood. She was doing a show down there, and it was raining. And they had set up a stage, and these young boys got up on the stage, and they started spitting. And they were spitting, what I mean is that they were, rhyming, or they were rapping, and they were rapping their life in the hood where they lived.
Where
They
they're
were
from.
rapping what they were going through in the environment, and that's what I see. That's what I hear in Meek Mills. Meek Mills is very good in making descriptions. They might be dark sometimes. They might be what would we call it? They might be
They might
dark.
be
They might be
they might
ghetto.
come from a place, of anger and ferocity. And the language maybe that's used is language that is more culturally representative of the street life.
Yes, yes,
But that is what makes him attractive to
yes,
the listener, is that he's
yes,
presenting a position in a
yes,
clear, concise way that allows for you to walk through that space without actually having to be there.
yes.
And that's what he does well.
So now
Let me
I
go.
want you to know I do have Dreams and Nightmares, the clean version.
Well, Dreams and Nightmares. Let's see if it'll come through. If not, I have the lyrics as well. Go ahead.
Okay. It's very difficult. It's
Ooh,
it's very difficult to stop listening to someone who is spitting wisdom.
man, listen. This is Meek Mill's real. The moment Meek Mill became a star, it was
Mm,
this song right here,
mm.
Dreams and Nightmares. Because what it talks about is, it talks about where he was coming from when it said, hold on, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished. I bought that Aston Martin. Y'all thought that it was rented. Flexing on them all like I'm Popeye with his spinach. Double and they see the team. Rose and I'm Lieutenant. I'm the type to count a million, cash them ground. I'm broke. That Lambo, they thought it was a ghost. I'm riding around one city with my hands strapped on my toes because these people want me dead and I gotta make it back home. I mean, he was going in, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody was just like, I feel this. I want to bring it
Yes,
back to somebody else that I had spoken about when we talked about Ghostface Killer. And Ghostface Killer had a similar song where it was the pianos and it was just him kind of talking over the pianos. It wasn't a heavy bass filled song. It gave people an opportunity to listen. And when you give people an opportunity to listen to the words that you're saying without the music always dominating the actual song, it changes sometimes the way that people feel about what they're hearing. And it was a moment, I think, Dreams and Nightmare for Meek Mill, that really allowed people to hear the quality of MC that he was, not just that he was a guy who was talking about the streets, but a guy who was talking about his experience and how he was able to change his life through having this particular skill, and mastering it to the level at which he was able to master it.
Yeah, if I may say one thing, and as I pulled up and I jumped into Dreams and Nightmares just before you mentioned it, William, and I was my focus on the video itself, and as he's speaking, I'm listening strictly to his words. My mind went quickly to Tupac Shakur. It was like they're in that same dimension
Mm,
of thought, and
mm,
and expressing themselves without you uh without you qualming about the angst of the words that they're using. I mean, the profanity, but you're listening to their life
yes.
and how they're professing it. And because this is the cultural avenue that's been proposed to be used, it's still the message is coming across very clearly. Alhamdulillah. The,
alhamdulillah. It's very, very true. Especially to the point when we recognize the time that hip hop actually came up in. It was a time where I think, Ronald Reagan may have been president at the time. Um,
Mhm.
he Jobs wasn't there, and it was after Reagan because I don't know who was president. It might have been under Bush, but the job situation is not good. The drugs are in the neighborhood, and people want to make money. They see an opportunity. They see opportunity is there, and it's at a point now where there's enough intelligence that's in the culture of the African American, where he can or he or she can express themselves mentally,
Mm-hmm.
lyrically,
Mm-hmm.
do it. And it's not R&B. I'm not expressing R&B, baby, I love you, and
Yes.
all the rest of that. What it is, I'm expressing to you the struggle of making it in the environment that I'm in. That's what basically, I got coming out of it. And I understood it because that's the way that I came up as a rapper, as a wordsmith. And so I really understood it.
Now,
They're also too. Go ahead, Sister Martha. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to inject too because I first had tapped into All Eyes on You, but and I'm watching the video and I watch it with a critical eye. Um, and I see P. Diddy and I think Nicki Minaj but I hear the artistry of Meek Mills as he's
Mm-hmm.
standing and he's singing in reference to that they're portrayed, but then you see him standing on the wall leaning against the wall and sharing his words. So
Mm-hmm.
it touches you from 1987. Yeah, he was born in Reagan's arena, and the
Right.
aftermath of Reagan was felt 20 years later, 25
Yes.
years later. uh,
Yes.
it's felt. So the residue has not been lifted totally yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's still more mountains to climb that's going to come through the voices of those who now we've recognized the last 20 years. It's just been highlighted mental illness. But that mental illness, I think, is an expression of the
Mm,
pain or the discomfort in the heart, in the soul. And
mm,
so the soul, I believe, Almighty God is bringing them forth, and those who hear it will be able to listen attentively and critically and be able to counsel and help rather than just be discouraged.
I mean, you are making a point that has to be made about what hip hop culture is. Hip hop culture comes out of the need to survive. It did not come forth as just a tool of destruction. It came forth as a tool of survival, and particularly, as you said, not just for the opportunity to make money to have food, clothing, and shelter, but also to gather camaraderie. As Pop said, there was a time where hip hop was in breakdancing all about the ability to challenge someone physically without touching them. The opportunity to have a battle where people spoke highly of themselves and negatively about someone else. It didn't include violence. It was a moment to say, I'm better than you. And then the other person says, well, I'm better than you. Still competitive, the same way we just was talking about basketball, where you have two teams competing against one another. And, one player is telling the other player, man, you can't stop me. I'm better than you. This is competition, and it's a healthy way to compete, a healthy way to show the way in which you feel you are more than just, your color or your economic circumstance. You have some way of showing that you are worthy and
Hmm.
worth more than just what some perception or stereotype might infer.
Now, combine that with Michael Jackson's readiness to show the competitiveness, the dancers around him, where he's showing the the rage that's supposed to be between two factions,
Hmm.
and they're appearing to be at odds with each other. That was real life. Meet
Hmm.
in the street.
Yes.
You meet
yeah,
me
he
in the
was
street,
trying to
and
tap into that. Yeah.
yes, and he brought that forward without us knowing it. It was like a undercurrent, And as he portrayed it, though he was the center of the attention, but you heard the words. And what's this, the song, William, that you played with him running in the street with the rain and the, I think it was one of his last
Running in the
songs.
street with the rain. Oh, Russia. The one about Russia.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a powerful song.
powerful.
Powerful song.
Mm.
And so it's an inward, besides I'm looking at the man in the mirror, people heard the tune or the you know the soundtrack, but if when they really heard the words, it was a soul searching situation. But then coming to the Russian background situation, he gets more into his what's disturbing him, and so bringing that forward with the hip hop, we find that the hip hop uh, it pushed it, it brought it on out. I'll just say it gave it was the child being born,
Hmm.
the message being born to the point it didn't look it's ugly. It's ugly. We don't want to face it,
Yes,
you know, but we have to.
that's
I
right.
mean, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, yeah,
There is a beauty that can only be recognized by recognizing what is ugly, right? And so there is an opportunity in the wordsmiths that are representing hip hop, and in this case Meek Mill, and what he did in Dreams and Nightmares, which was truly important. And again, that's that pivotal moment for him to step into the arena as someone who was ascending to a particular space in hip hop, was the presenting of his life, the presenting of a life that many people were experiencing, but being able to clarify it and bring it into a mainstream environment
yeah,
where
yeah.
individuals could really connect to their own life, again, across age, across race,
You're right.
right? The understanding of people have dreams and there are times nightmares. And when you're able to reach your dreams through nightmares, how empowering it can be. We're gonna go
Yeah.
on to Going Bad, which is a
This
song
is, let me
where
just make a comment before we
go
get
ahead.
into that to that degree.
Go ahead,
Um,
Pop.
you know, especially being able to appreciate Meek Mill and what it is that he was doing, and we have to understand the time frame and the environment that he was living in at that time, because in that time that he was living in, you know, drugs was real. Dealing with people getting killed was real. People
Israel, Israel.
is real, but you know, and I'm saying that in his environment, that's as a young kid, you know, this is what he's coming up in, you know, and he's trying to, they're trying to make it in this environment. I'm talking about these young kids. They're trying to
Yep.
make it in this environment, and these are opportunities and tragedies that are in the environment that you have to navigate, you know, and then for you to be able to express what's going on in your, you know, your effort to make it in this environment is what made hip hop, you know, that which was embraced by the culture, and the culture embraced it because they could relate to it. They could relate
Without
to it.
question.
It was a reminder to them of what it is that they're doing and what they're going through in that particular so it was, that's where the artistry comes from. Yes, go ahead.
Also, too, it's about giving you the opportunity, right? Meek Mill represents someone who has made it, right? It's the same way when we talk about LeBron James. You know, he represents someone who has made it. And in that, you have the opportunity to hope and dream. And again, Dreams and Nightmares highlights the fact that the dreams can come true. You just have to push forward, even if at the time you feel like it's a nightmare. Push forward because
Right.
dreams do come true.
Okay.
Going Bad was the opportunity for him to really ascend himself. He put himself on a track, or not put himself, but he was on a track with Drake. And this track with Drake, because Drake was big and is still big as a MC and as a hip hop artist, Meek Mill joining forces with Drake to create this song called Going Bad, which I enjoy. I used to have it on my playlist all the time, man. Really incredible song. Two great MCs going back and forth over a really hot beat. Going Bad was another moment in which Meek Mill ascended into the dreams that he always thought that he wanted. Let's get a little play over that.
This is different.
This is different.
This is trap.
Well, not trap. This is commercial.
Now, come on. I mean, this rap style is trap.
Well, no, I gotta. Trap music is not a flow. Let me clarify that for you, okay?
Okay.
Trap music has to do with drug lifestyle and people coming from what is called the trap, which is a drug house.
Wait a
So
minute, wait a
trap
minute, Vel,
music, trap
Vel,
music is. Let
Vel.
me explain to you, and then you'll
Wait a
understand.
minute. Well,
So
Vel,
trap
I don't want to
music.
hear that part. I want to
Oh,
hear the structure of this
well,
situation.
I have to explain it to you because obviously you don't know what trap means. So
Okay.
let me explain to you and the audience so that the
Okay.
audience can be clear.
Okay.
Trap music is about drug houses and what happens there, and thus the music that comes out of being in the trap. That's what trap music is. And you don't have to have a um, lighter style of rhyming to be a trap artist. Why? Because T.I., right, who we discussed recently, is one of the people who is associated with the explosion of trap music. And T.I. does not rhyme simple, right?
Yeah, but
He had
Vel,
he's a
again, you
wordsmith.
giving me
And
all of
so
that. You giving me
so
all
now
that,
I
Vel, but you ain't talking about the structure of it. Da 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 da
but
da 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 da
well
da.
well again, you won't let me because you're cutting me off so you can
Of
get to
course, I'm
your
cutting
point.
you off
But
because I
I'm
want you
I'm
to get
trying.
to it, man.
Right. Well, I have to once again make sure you're
We ain't
clear
talking
on
about
what
we
you're
ain't talking
saying.
about the drug
You have
house,
to,
man. We
but
talking about the
you have
structure
to
of the
understand.
song.
But no, when you opened your mouth and said that it was trap music,
Right.
I needed to explain this to you so that you
You just
recognize
shut
that
me up. Go ahead, you
that
can
no,
say it.
no, I'm
You
not
can say
shutting
it.
you up. I'm just trying to clarify that sometimes in these terminologies that people
Listen to
use,
that.
yeah, it's about terminologies. And the thing is that folks have to be clear on the terminology that's being used. It's just like if you walked into a school and someone said, what is ELA class, you had to be clear that ELA stands for English language academics, right? So you have to know those things in order to have a conversation about them. So I just want to be clear that trap music is more about the fact that this music comes from the drug environment where folks are selling drugs in what is called the trap. Now, in terms of this flow pattern you're talking about, this flow pattern is one that is simpler because this is a commercial song. This is a song that's made with Drake to be pushed out to a commercial audience, and thus they are trying to really keep a simple flow that everyone can follow. And Meek Mill was matching Drake's flow
Yes,
in order
yes.
for it to be it would so it made synchronicity an important part of what people were hearing. So that's why it was da 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 da, right? Because that's the way that Drake was rapping as well. So it was about making sure they were in sync
I
on
have a
this particular
definition.
track. And
I
so
have a
that was
definition.
very important in terms of, well, I just wanted to finish answering your question about the da da da
Okay.
da da. It was about them being in sync on the track so that it could be pushed out to a commercial audience because that was the reason that this song was done with these two artists on it.
Okay. I asked I asked AI for a definition of trap music. Okay.
Okay.
And trap music is a subgenre of Southern hip hop originating from Atlanta in the 1990s, early 2000s. And that's where you get T.I., right? Defined by heavy 808 sub bass kicks, rapid triplet notes hi-hats and dark atmospheric synthetics. So that. That's what they call trap music. As a matter of fact, Snoop was like, this stuff that they doing these days, yeah, what the heck are they doing? That's not hip hop. It is hip hop, but it's different from the rap pattern that was originally produced. And so this rap pattern is what the younger generation was coming up, and this is what they were doing. This Meek Mill did, duplicate it. He did reflect it, but he did reflect to showing that he was capable of doing trap music to that degree, or the trap music style to that degree. Yeah, but that's what trap music is, and it's different. That's what I'm saying.
Right. And you and chat are wrong, but that's okay.
Oh,
It's okay. It's
okay,
okay. It's
okay,
okay. It's okay. I
okay,
know that you're trying really
okay,
hard to make your point,
okay,
but I'm
okay.
but I'm very clear on what trap music is. And when I give you a definition of trap music, and the one that I gave you is the correct definition of what trap music is. But again, I understand you're trying to make your point.
Well, I
It
did. I hope
still
I
hasn't.
did, because it is different.
It
It is
still
different.
wasn't. It still
Da.
right. But again, you are saying something that if you listen to different trap artists like Two Chains, like Jeezy, like Lil Wayne, like these guys, I'm telling you what it is. And again, you made a great effort to try and get your point across.
Well, I'm going.
But it
Well,
isn't.
rather I
But it
hear you,
isn't.
but
But it
I'm going to
isn't
go with
correct.
AI. I'm gonna go with
But
AI.
that's cool. You can go
Okay,
with the
I'll go with
artificial
AI on this one.
intelligence rather than the
You know what I'm
natural
saying?
intelligence. It's
I
cool.
I'll go with
You go ahead
AI
and go
on
that
this
way.
one. Yeah. Okay.
And with that being said,
Now,
you have all entered into the conversations of Pop and Cavell when they are not on the radio. So thank you for that. Right? You get a chance to dive in. We're gonna move on to the other side of America, which Meek
And it's
Mill
all
jumps
good.
back. Yes. It's always great. Listen, we have these conversations and have for many years, many years.
many years.
Um, Other Side of America, which is the next track, which jumps back into what Meek Mill is more known for, which is his biting um, criticism of what it is that happens in America regarding the youth and some of the issues and some of the different things that go on in the culture. Other Side of America dives into a way in which he can express what is his concern as America deals with Black culture. Pop, let's
You
take a
said
listen.
you said the other side of America, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the other side of America. America, clean. Okay, clean version. Okay, here we go. Okay, other side of America, clean. Here we go.
Poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs.
Oh, I'm gonna start this over because this is your president that's starting us off on this side of America.
Woo, woo,
The other
man,
side of
listen.
America. Yeah,
Again,
Doc.
man, again, just a biting commentary on the things that the other side go through, right? When you talk about the questions that Donald Trump were posing in that first part of the song, what do you have to lose? It's like you have everything to lose, right? And so you give it your best. You give it your best, but at the same time, there were struggles, right? Mama is at work, daddy is gone. You hungry. You dealing with the friends that are outside, and people who are trying to deny you an opportunity to find a way to feed yourself, to even walk the streets, to even be able to walk from one space to the other. People are in jail. People come out of jail. People trying to figure out how they're going to survive, how they're going to feed their kids. It's a lot all going on. He continued, started off in the basement. Now it's rooftops and LeBron there, still fighting open cases, out on bail, but it's my year. Summertime, it get cold out, heater on me like a Montclair. Closet bigger than my old house. Thinking about it, I was fine there, right? He talking about, you know, yeah, I'm out of jail now because Meek Mill did have a situation where he was arrested and put in jail. And he didn't
Yeah,
know
and
if he was
they
gonna
tried to
come
give
out.
him the shaft too, man. They tried to give
Yeah,
him the
man.
shaft, man.
Yeah,
Tell him a little
and
bit about that, man, because it reminds me much of, the thing that, Iverson went through. You get one stain and then they try to, hold that over you forever and ever.
well, again, there is a situation in America where there is a stereotype, and when you pull yourself out of circumstances where you have an opportunity to really ascend into a space where you can provide for your family and maybe provide for your family for generations, there is a responsibility that is on your shoulders, and there are times in which people will not allow you to move past your mistakes. And he was held responsible for some things that he had done, and they were his responsibility to handle. But the time that they were trying to give him was not adequate in terms of what it is that he was uh, charged with. And with that, he was really in a situation where I'm sure mentally he was challenged. But this was an opportunity, this right here, this song, to talk to that. And in that, he was able to go on CNN, he was able to go on CNBC and other major networks and talk about the injustices that the criminal justice system poses, and subjects Black folk to, that come out of our communities, especially Black males. And that resonated with many people around the country who have been in situations where their fathers, sons, um, their uncles, grandfathers have been in circumstances in which they have had challenges dealing with the criminal justice system. And so that's one of the things that in this song he was able to speak to. And speaking to that, he had a opportunity to kind of step into the space where he became more of an advocate, a public advocate for criminal justice reform in America.
Yeah, it says that in August 2019, Meek Mill reached, his name is Robert Williams, reached a plea deal in Philadelphia, allowing him to plead guilty to a single misdemeanor gun charge from his 2007 arrest. In exchange, prosecutors dropped all the other charges, including drug possession. However, it was a 12-year legal battle. He faced no further probation or prison time with his 2008 conviction, officially pardoned by the governor. But the 2019 deal allowed him to avoid a retrial after his conviction was overturned due to doubts about the original arresting office credibility. But they kept him on the leash, man, for a long time, and what it did it kept the lawyers that he had to continue to pay those legal fees. And I
Yeah.
want to stop for a minute and just mention and just recognize that my brother Shakur is here with us, ladies and gentlemen. Brother Shakur is here. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, look at my
Assalamu
salon.
alaikum. What's going on,
Yes.
Shakur?
Look at my salon, brother. I can't call it, brother. I'm just proud to be on. See you gentlemen doing y'all thing, man.
I always appreciate you, King. I got those tracks too. We gonna talk.
Uh-oh, okay.
You already know. You already know.
Yeah.
It's a blessing though. It's a
Yes,
blessing
sir.
you in the building. Blessing you in the building. Anything you want to say about Meek Mill?
Well, yeah, I know he's out, Meat Mill, fresh out of Philadelphia, you know what I'm saying? I know he's been doing this thing for quite a while. He definitely one of the the top guys that I listen to. He's definitely, one of those lyrical guys. I don't listen to him much anymore, but when I did, when I was a teenager, I always saw him as, like I said, lyrical. He made a lot of deep music, had a lot of deep meaning in his music. And I know he had a lot of trials and tribulations that he gone through too. So yeah, he's just one of those brothers that you could look up to, I guess, and learn from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Respect, resonate and exactly what it is that we were saying about Meek. How he's able to take some things that come from the culture and put it into, his music and then share it with folks, man. And then it
Okay.
resonates with not only us, but with other folks who have had challenges and struggles all across the country, not just in Philly or another state like New York, but all across the country, especially when you talk about black males in the criminal justice system.
Yeah, well, so I
Correct.
know that you have your favorite that you want to play, but can I play my favorite now? My favorite Meek Mill?
Sure, because then we're gonna move on to quick quotes.
Okay. All right. So this is my favorite Meek Mill. I mean, I could listen to this all the time. It's called Championships. Oh, wait a minute. Let me do this here. Let me bring it back. Okay. Oh, man.
Once again, man, you know what
Rocking
I'm saying?
Old Navy like it's Christian Dior.
I have
I
to say,
mean,
I mean,
powerful, powerful.
Oh,
like a prophet.
oh,
Again,
man.
just powerful. Meek Mill, once again, we talk about how it is that MCs and lyrics really are important. And once again, sometimes it is people get caught up in the verbiage, but the verbiage is not only what's important, it's listening to the message and
Yes.
realizing, man, that sometimes the message is much more important. You have to be able to filter. And Meek Mill, man, does some of the things, man, that once again can be so profound in the way in which he illustrates the way in which young folk, and not only young folk, but people in our communities have to travel. With that being said, we close out that quick quote, that quick hits piece, man, to go on the quick quotes. We're gonna move through it because we at 12:48, man. We're gonna jump into most deaf, man, and mathematics. The reason why I decided to go with mathematics today is because mathematics is a is an artist using artistry to do the same thing that Meek Mill did in terms of the quick hits that we just presented. But this here is utilizing the number system. What we talk about in terms of education, he utilized numbers in a artistic way to express what goes on in the community. We're going to just take a little piece of it in order for us to move through because we don't want to miss the other pieces of the cipher.
Okay.
So go ahead, Pop. Let's play a little bit of it, and then I'll focus in on the particular piece of mathematics.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't know. It has parental advice. It says clean, but I don't trust it. Yeah.
Woo! Yo, I got 16 to 32 bars to rock it, but only 15% of profits ever see my pockets. Like 69 billion in the last 20 years spent on national defense, but folks still live in fear. Like nearly half of America's largest cities and 1/4 are black. That's why they gave Ricky Ross all the crack.
Mm.
Mm. It's
What?
mathematics. You know what I'm saying? It's mathematics. And the way in which Most Def is remembered, man. And of course, Most Def is one of the most prophetic in terms of hip hop culture when it comes to his lyricism. This dude utilizing this way of expressing the complications of dealing with black culture and dealing with being black in America was truly profound. And mathematics, again, one of his most incredible offerings in terms of a hip hop artist and as an MC. Again, I got 16 to 32 bars to rock it. Hey, listen, man, just incredible. Saying, yo, 16 ounces to a pound, 20 more to a key, a 5 minute sentence hearing, and you no longer free. You know, referring back to what Meek Mill is talking about, right? In his own way. Coming back to what we were saying about, the things that are going on in basketball with John Morant, or what happened with Kawhi Leonard, the money, the fame, the aspirations of black folk to, have hope to do something and dream and make it. And then all of a sudden there's a challenge and now people pulling it away from you, the nightmares that, I mean, just the way in which our culture continues to express itself in all forms and fashions. This is what the quick hitters digital experience is all about, connecting all of these pieces, not just talking about one, but adding them all together to let people know, man, that this is our culture, the hip hop culture, a culture that represents some folks, man, that have been deprived some things, but at the same time climbed out of it, man, and reached their dreams.
So what's so interesting about I want Shakur to go ahead and tell us, and then Sister Martha, but Shakur, tell us what the spiritual angle is with Most Def, this whole thing with Most Def. What's Most Def's other name?
I believe it's Talib Kweli, if I'm not mistaken.
Now it's Yasin Bey.
Okay. Well, let me correct that. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
Yasin Bey.
And why
Okay.
did he do that? Why did he do that?
Well, it seems more of a spiritual thing. I mean, it definitely, it seems like as if he tapped into a higher spiritual realization of not only himself but his gift from God. That's
He
pretty much what I get from it.
he
He also
became
became a
Muslim.
Muslim.
He
Hmm
became
Oh,
Muslim.
okay,
Yeah,
He
he
became
right,
became
right,
Muslim.
Muslim.
Hmm
He said, "Don't call me Most Def no more.
right.
Call
Okay,
me
From
Yasin
now on,
Bey."
them Yasin Bey. You know
Ah,
what I
right.
mean?
Hey, that's
And
hard. Yeah.
and it was a powerful step for the it was a powerful step for the homie. Um, and again, he was always in the conscious space. It was
Uh,
just the next step for him in terms of his spiritual development. And once again, that's why we bring it to the table, man. We talk about most deaf, and what
right,
really is important is to again highlight the fact that you can say a lot of things in hip hop, and you can
yeah,
be clever. You don't always have to have curses in the verses, as Pop
mhm.
likes to say. But at the same time,
right.
if you go along, there are definitely pieces in here in mathematics, that
Yeah,
utilize different words that come from the culture, man, that aren't necessarily those that represent the best of language. But who cares? At some points,
right,
you need to
right,
express it in the way you need to express it. With that being said, we're gonna move forward, man,
right.
to you dance real quick, where we're gonna jump into Kid Break. Kid Break is a competitive b-boy who won the Red Bull BC1 qualifier to advance to the USA National Final in Denver in May of 2026. So in 2026, Kid Break will be in the USA National Finals of Red Bull's breakdance competition, showcasing his high level breaking skills. He is active on social media and often sharing his performances and training for elite competitions. Kid Break is an incredible b-boy, man. I swear, man. I've watched this young homie do his thing, man, and he is um, taking break into another space. I don't know if he'll be in the Olympics at any point, but right here again, being a young, incredible breaker puts him in a position to be in the finals in Denver in May in 2026. If you got some video of Kid Break Pop, that'd
Yeah.
be
Well,
dope.
how do you spell his name?
Oh,
BR.
it's Kid Break, KIDBREAK, all one word.
Oh, one word. Kid. BRAK.
EAK. Hmm
Yeah. Okay. Kid Break. Okay. Let's see. Uh,
Do me a favor, go down a little bit and just look at some of his shorts and just grab up one of his shorts so we could check out something brief.
I don't think this is it. I don't think this is the one you're talking about. This is just showing some young
No,
kids.
those are just some kids. So once again, if you see Kid Break, right, it should be one word, Kid Break.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Kid Break. Okay. As one word.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Kid Break. Kid Break. Kid Break. Um, come on. Give it to me. Give it to me. Break dance. Born to dance. The breakdancing kid. 7-year old. Incredible breakdancing skills. 8-year old kid break. All right. Let me just do this here. Okay, maybe that'll okay. No, they still giving me that. They still giving me that.
All right.
Um
So let me just once again say for time's sake, Kid Break, when you get an opportunity, all one word, KIDBREAK, Kid Break. This brother is incredible. I actually discovered him when I was on my Instagram, checking out some videos because it always shows me hip hop stuff. And when I saw him, he was breakdancing in the snow. And his breakdancing in the snow
woo,
was so amazing, man. I mean, his timing, what he was able to do in terms of his air flares, his top rocking, as well as his timing. He was dancing to a Wu-Tang track. And man, when I tell you incredible, man, the brother is incredible. Another young man moving forward, moving the culture forward, doing what he does in terms of making sure that the element of breaking is considered and continues to be considered one of the best parts of our culture. We're gonna move on right quick just to mention art is not a crime. We are going to talk about AZIT, capital AZIT. AZIT is a Danish graffiti artist from Copenhagen. Again, the things that we have done, man, from the early 1970s in the Bronx and Harlem, leading all the way out to Copenhagen. He is has been active since 1994. He blends classic New York graffiti inspiration with personal vision, emphasizing freedom and individuality in his work. He's associated with crews like FK and MSI, and draws from comic books, psychedelia, and his environment to fuel his street art. Once again, you see a little bit of it right there. What an incredible artist, using all kinds of different flavors to bring together um, fantastic murals, not only on walls, but of course in different phases like canvas, as well as you can see utilizing the um, Apple iPad and the Apple pen to display and create incredible works of art that then inevitably see the wall. So again, when we talk about hip hop culture, man, and its impact from its early stages in the early 70s all the way up to today, it has continued to make dreams come true for not only those from its areas here in America, but in areas all around the world where people find their opportunity to express themselves and surely bring us incredible experiences that we can share with one another. With that being said, thank you once again to checking out our Let's Talk Real Quick segment of the Quick Hitters Digital Experience. We're going to move off into our next piece, man, where I think this is going to be a really incredible conversation that we bring to the table and some experiences that I'm sure I hope will move us into the next space of solution. What we're going to talk about today is Donald Trump and nationalizing the voting policy. This is the conversation, the experience, and the movement. Pop, take it
The
away.
conversation, national voting policy debate. Recent political developments have featured former President Donald Trump advocating for federal intervention in state-run elections. You got that? Advocating for federal intervention in state-run elections, proposing frameworks that echo nationalized voting concepts, sparking constitutional debate over federal versus local control of election laws and voter access standards. This issue involves questions of how votes are counted, uniformity of voting rights, and whether federal oversight should override state election authority.
Sounds like a takeover to me.
There you go. That's the conversation. The experience is public reaction and democracy in practice. For many communities, this debate isn't abstract. It shapes live experiences with ballot access, election security, and civil trust. People from diverse political backgrounds are expressing concerns ranging from fears of disenfranchisement to calls for greater protections against inconsistent rules across states. The movement, civic engagement, and structural change. The push to reform, whether federalized standards or state autonomy, have energized civic activism. Voter registration drives, community forums, legal challenges, and grassroots coalitions have formed to advocate for transparency, equity, and accountability in hot elections as hot elections are administered.
Let's go back a little bit and get a little bit of the context. The U.S. President Donald Trump, I'm reading this from BBC. U.S. President Donald Trump has urged Republicans to nationalize elections and repeated his false claims of 2020 election fraud in a new podcast interview. American elections are primarily run by state law, and voting has long been administered by local officials across the country. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. This is quoting what he said. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting, Trump said during an appearance on the podcast of his former deputy FBI director, Dan Bongino. His remarks come days after the FBI raided an elections office in Georgia to examine voting records from 2020. In the interview, Trump did not name the 15 places where he thought Republicans should nationalize voting. The president tied his desire to federalize voting mechanisms to his key agenda item of deporting undocumented immigrants from the US. If Republicans don't get them out, you will never win another election as a Republican, he said.
Well, I'll tell you this here. And then Sister Martha, you can say something. And then we get to Shakur also. What this whole idea, the country was founded on the state counting the votes and then sending the votes to the federal government when it came to the presidential election. That's how it was set up. The state had the responsibility, not the federal government. The federal government didn't have the responsibility of making sure that the people in their local communities, like the cities, that they weren't over the voting system. The states are over the voting system. That's how you get your congressmen and your senators to go to Washington, D.C., because it's the states that carry out the elections. What Donald Trump is saying, that, like, look, we want the federal government to take the responsibility over. That's basically what he's saying. We don't trust the states. And the states that he doesn't trust is Democratic states. In his administration, his people in the administration always talk about the left, or the Democrats. They don't talk as representing all Americans. Donald Trump talks like he only represents the Republican Party, like he only represents the red states. He doesn't talk like he's the president for all the people. And this is where he's getting the big problem. I'll leave it there.
Yes. Now, the inference, what's being inferred here, I would say, Martha Nailah here, I would say, is that this is a precedent or something that's going to precede the whole United States being taken over and run by the federal, in the sense of the locals will not have the dependency on the voters of their states. And then that means everything, then I can see the budget changing hands from being delivered to the state to send it to the commissioners and on into the cities. So this is highly something to be looked at, and to be every city, every locale is to stay on their toes and look into the Constitution of their state and the Constitution of the United States and come forward. Now, this is not run on a basis of a particular people, though we know where the discard will be, who will be discarded. But the point is, we have to look at the policies, and really direct our attention to changing those policies, or amending them, or deleting some.
Yeah, Shakur?
I see it as a way to like take the power away from the Democrats. Like you said, because it seems like he's only representing the Republicans. So at that point, I mean, going to polls and voting just seems like it's going to be a waste of time if it continues to go in that way. You know what I mean? And like you said, give the power to the federal government, so that way they can make changes and do things and put things in order where we won't have any power. We as the people, like you said, the power originally belonged to the states. So if they don't belong to the states anymore, then there's no power of say, of no power to change anything. You know what I mean? So that's what I get from it.
Yeah, and it's really very important for us to understand that that's not the formation of America. America was not formatted on the part of the federal government having all the power. Because when the 13 colonies was here, they sent representatives to Washington to represent their needs. And the federal government was supposed to be the overarching that was supposed to collect taxes and be the place where everybody came together and talked about what do you need? Okay, you need $2, man, to fix your road. What do you need? Oh, you need $2 for a school. Or what do you need? Well, you need some money to make sure that we have a police station and the police. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to collect the income tax from all the money from every citizen that's in the United States. We're going to collect all the money, and then we're going to disperse the money to all the people to make sure that the needs of the American people is taken care of. And so I want you to vote for. So the states, what you're going to do, you're going to get your people to vote for me as a candidate, and I'm going to make sure that your situation is taken care. No, 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 no. Oh, no, the Republicans, I want you to get your people together to vote for me, because when I become president, I'm going to make sure that all of your responsibilities are taken care of. But now they want to take that away from the people. That's the way that the government has operated for over 250 years. And now he wants to come in and change it. Yeah. Or
So
Shakur, anybody, yeah.
I'd like to, Shakur, if you got something else to say, you know what I'm saying, you can go ahead, my good brother. I'll jump back in then. For me, I look at it a little differently. I don't ever think that the United States government had a plan to take care of all of its people. I do not think that that was the plan at all. I think that it was a plan to take care of those who were considered people, and the others who were not considered people, who were considered property,
That's true.
were not considered in the formation of this policy and these policies. And over the course of this country's existence, it has been clear that that was not its priority to take care of all of its people. It has always been a system in which those who are in power and who have established themselves as the families and the individuals, groups who had power, communities that had power, were going to continue to maintain those things. I think the challenge that is apparent at this moment is that those individuals are now in direct competition with the individuals they used to look at as property, right? And so the push to eliminate immigration is rooted in the fact that 200 years ago, there were less people of color or ethnicities, different nationalities in America. And so today, there is such a large population of individuals who are not considered by those who are or who have been in a position of power in America, who are now a large population that contributes to the tax code, contributes to the economy that exists in America, and who have put themselves in positions of power in terms of political power. When you talk about being able to be representatives in the Senate, in the House, on the Supreme Court, in the judiciary area, when you talk about judges within the judicial system, when you talk about individuals who are council people or who are mayors or who are governors, right? You're talking about folks who are not necessarily representative of the America that was established in the 1600s. And so, again, I think that's what, when you say Donald Trump doesn't see himself as everyone's president, it comes to that particular concern that there are a number of people who he does not see as Americans. And
Okay,
those individuals are those folks who represent the 15 places that he spoke about, right? Those people are in the 15 places that he's talking about. And so, thus, he wants to make sure that those places that can effectively change the power structure in the Senate and in the Congress, right? When the midterm elections come up in November of this year, do not have a legitimate opportunity to vote. And he can then contest the results of those particular votes by saying that those people are undocumented, those people are not a representative of the way in which the election should be counted. And so, thus, he will dispute that and try to remain in power.
Well, I think we have to always take into consideration that the ratio for Black people in America, Black Hispanics, are 2 to 1. That there's over 200 million white people in America, and there's 100 million with the Black people. There's 51 million Black people in America, and then the other 60% go to Hispanics to that degree, to all the others to that degree. So they always are 2 to 1 on Black people. So this whole
But I,
thing.
but we've
Okay, go
had this
ahead.
conversation. We've had this
Yeah,
conversation before, and just to be clear, everyone who is European of European descent does not vote Republican.
yeah, but that's not the point. That's
Well,
not
it
the
is
point.
the point because when you bring up the number of votes,
Okay.
Donald Trump won the election by a minor, right? There was a small representation in terms of the number. If he won by 2 million votes, and as you say, there are 300 and some odd million people in this country, and of those voters, he won by 2 million votes, right? And you say that there are 200 million people of European descent in America. It's clear that they also were not supportive of the particular positions that he took as a candidate. So again, it lies in the fact that, and this goes back to 2020 because this isn't only about that. And let me read this. The president tied his desire to federalize voting mechanisms to his key agenda item of deporting undocumented immigrants from the U.S. While talking to Bongino, right? Trump referred to the FBI's raid in Georgia's Fulton County, saying that you're going to see some interesting things come out. Trump narrowly lost the state to Joe Biden in 2020. He has repeatedly said his loss was due to fraud, an unsubstantiated claim. Trump faced 2 criminal indictments related to alleged election interference in Georgia, a federal case that ended after he returned to the White House last year, and a Georgia state racketeering case that fell apart. He denied any wrongdoing. In the new podcast interview, Trump claimed he won the 2020 election in a landslide and said without evidence that people voted illegally. So this isn't even about the election that just passed where he became the president. He is setting this up to be a place that he can contend that Georgia, a place where there is a majority of people of color, is going to be a place he can dispute the results, especially with the midterm elections coming up. He is setting up the idea that there is going to be fraud and illegal voting practices.
Yeah, well, we already know that. Yeah, go ahead, Shakur.
Well, I was going to say, so I guess it boils down to difference in perspective when you say the European descent who didn't vote for Trump. So obviously there's food being taken off their plates. You can look at it like that. I
Yeah.
look at it as if one group of people is not being benefited, so another group is. So I believe it boils down to like perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Yes,
I
sir.
think that and that's a lot of what they press. If you look at this map that I have, y'all can see the map, right? Kamala Harris got 226 votes from the Electoral College, and Donald Trump got 312 votes from the Electrical College. But she got 48.3% of the popular vote, and he got 49.8% of the popular vote. So the popular vote isn't necessarily what gets you to be president, it's the Electoral College. that gets you to be president. And that's why they had the case that was down there in Georgia, because they had fake electors that wanted to go in and change some of the
So it's been
some,
rigged.
yeah, they wanted to change it, and that's why they got in trouble with that. And that's why they were being brought to case, because that's how much he was trying. Him and his people were trying to change the election, and so that's what they're trying to do now. They're trying to, take control as far as the election is concerned. So that's where we're at with it. And so I'll just leave it there. We
Again,
have somebody
what
else with
what you're
us. We
what
have
you're showing
somebody
in
else
this
with us.
definitely, let me finish this point,
Yes,
is
sir.
that in the 2024 election, which you showed just now, that isn't really his position. He's not talking about 2024. He's talking about 2020, where he is still trying to dispute
Yeah,
the election of 2020
right.
and utilizing that particular uh, position that he took to actually now affect the election in 2026, which will be the midterm elections for the Senate and for the Congress. He is setting up an argument in order to be able to contest the results in Georgia, and not only Georgia, but these 15 states or 14 other states that he has already put out there as contestable places.
Yeah. So in the Georgia race, Biden got 306 electoral votes, and then Trump got 232. So what he did when he lost this election, when it came to the next election that he was in, what he did is, like he said, well, look, this is the game I'm going to play. Since I lost with that because of the electoral college, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put fake electors for the electoral college. So now his next point of the game is that what he's trying to do, he's going into these countries, into these states, and saying, yo, we want to know what this is his next level of trying to control the election situation. And again, this is why it's a problem. This is why this is a problem for the American people. And I'm not talking about just black people. I'm talking about, all people, all Americans. It's a problem for him because, he's trying to control the process that has been in place for, for over 250 years, what the country was established on. He's trying to change that. And that is the problem that the American people are having. That he's trying to control it to that degree.
I have a quick question. Isn't he still in debt? Does he still have a big debt to take care of, or is he out of debt?
Well, according from what I understand, they've gone forward with trying to
They've
collect on the
paid
debt.
they've paid his debt. Um,
Oh,
that is one of the things that he was very adamant about in terms of bringing in all of those individuals from the tech world, the Amazons, the Facebooks, right? He was very adamant about bringing those folks into the space, and in that, those folks again donated money to not only the country but into his own coffers. There's been speculation and some information out there to say that the Trump family has made over $1.5 billion since he's been in office, and this is only from January of 2025. Right, so over 1 year, his family has made over $1 billion, being able to maximize the position that Trump is in, and how he's able to do business from the seat in the White House. And so it's an interesting process. Again,
Well,
Pop, just clarify it for us.
okay. If I may share this part on going back in
Sister,
history, 1787. where much was being discussed about federalism versus the states having their individuality, their own constitution. Alexander Hamilton, if we read back on that, it was always a question in the minds to have a central location for everything to be run from, authoritatively, like a king, and giving the higher, such as in the feudal system, giving those with higher uh, income status. It's moving towards having that appearance. But I'll read it from here. It says anti-federalists such as Thomas Jefferson feared that a concentration of central authority might lead to a loss of individuals and states' rights. They resented Federalist monetary policies, which they believed gave advantages to the upper class. In foreign policy, the Republicans leaned toward France, which had supported the American course or cause during the Revolution. Thomas Jefferson and his colleagues formed the Republican Party in that time in the early 1790s. By 1795, the Federalists had become a party in name as well. And then after John Adams, their candidate, was elected president in 1796, the Federalists began to decline. So the Federalist suppression of speech, free speech, under the Alien, they use that term, and Sedition Acts, and the assumption of closer relations with Britain instead of France that inflamed Jefferson. So I'm leaving it there. Now, the Republican Party then was much working like the Democratic parties, looking out for the betterment of the human family. Then they changed after Abraham Lincoln was killed. I'm speaking generally now, because he was of the Republican Party. And many of the African, of course, the inhabitants here that became free, supposedly, quote unquote, voted for Abraham Lincoln. But we coming forward now, we can see where there's strong implications that certain words were not changed. So Trump has indicated before now, going back to what we would call draconian rules or laws on the books. And those draconian laws, he's resurrecting them. And so he has individuals studying these things. I'm just going to say, I believe he has individuals studying these things and bringing it to him and bringing it forward to bring question to everything that is appeared to be solidified as far as voting is concerned.
Well, I think that it's important for us to understand this. Which one, answer this question, which one came first, city, state, or federal governance?
I'm just going to take a stab at it because I believe before, it was the Union, the 13 original colonies weren't,
Okay.
they weren't state by state, they were colonies.
Right. So they were which one was first? Was colonies or states?
The colonies.
Right. So the colonies ruled themselves. They had their own rules and regulations.
They agreed because they were the 13 original, but then they had their constitution.
But they had their own, when they first got over here, they had their own rules and regulations that they was operating under their own rules and regulations.
Supplanting a lot of it was supplanted from England, from where they come, what they were.
But that's the point. The only point that I'm making is that the colonies were first, as far as rules and regulations.
Yes.
Right.
Then the Constitution came alive.
Well, then they came together. They sent representatives to Philadelphia.
Yes.
Right.
To discuss the Constitution.
To discuss the Constitution.
Yes.
Right. So this is what I'm saying, that the first rule over people is their local rule.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
They're local, and then they agreed. They send people, they sent people, they sent people together, and they agreed that the state would have regulations, that if you was in, the state, that y'all would work together, and then but all of you would be governed under a federal government, under the Constitution that everybody had to follow.
Yeah, they argued upon it, but you see what came out was the agreement. There was some
The Bill
federalism.
of Rights, the first
Yes,
10.
exactly.
The Bill of Rights came out. So the thing is that people always have their own rules. They rule themselves in America. They united in the colonies, and the colonies sent the representative to represent their rules and regulate the way that they want things to go. So now the federal government is coming along and saying, "Now we don't want you to rule. We rule over you now. We're gonna tell you what the rules are." That's where the problem is, and that's what the American people don't want to give up.
I want to jump into the conversation and say once again, we are living in a time in which Donald J. Trump, and not only Donald Trump, because again, he is the manager of America. He is not the total ruler of America. He is being supported by individuals who have a concern. And their concern is that the growing population of individuals who are not considered American are at a all-time high, giving credence to what happened during the Biden administration with the open border policy, which was a terrible policy. I think we can all agree that not vetting individuals, allowing anyone to cross the border was a bad policy, and one in which he paid for, and inevitably Kamala Harris paid for, with the fact that Donald Trump was able to gain re-election. Uh, the idea that what you just mentioned, the original individuals who came to America and decided that they would operate underneath these rules and conditions, has always been reflective of the fact that those individuals would remain in power. As time has changed and gone forward, it has been clear that there are other folks who are gaining power and understanding the ability as a unified group to affect policy and change inside of the American administrative structure. Yes. So again, I'll take one in terms of New York. Um, for a long time in Harlem, there was a congressman, right? Congressman Rangel, who was in power for over 40 years. And basically, it was because the district was drawn in such a way that the Black population of Harlem was able to vote him in on a regular basis over 40 years. Recently, I would say maybe 8 years, 10 years ago, there was a redistricting of the area of Harlem, which went to include the Heights, Washington Heights area of Manhattan. In doing so, it incorporated the Dominican population into the Harlem environment. And thus, Charles Rangel was able to be defeated by Congressman Espelot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so
Yes.
there is an understanding, I believe, in people of color, and has been an understanding that if we as a unified group decide how it is we would like to send representation to the Congress or to the Senate, that we have to make sure that we have the right people in place to vote in elections. And so, again, Donald Trump's mindset and his folks' mindset, because again, before he started talking about nationalizing things, we had already seen that there had been attempts by the Republican Party to redistrict areas
True.
in predominantly um, predominant areas of color, because they
Mm-hmm.
understood that the Republican representative would face a challenge from the Democratic challenger, and thus they needed to redistrict that area. So this is not a one-step process. They had already began the process of redistricting certain areas. In our city, there is another woman who is from, I believe it's from Long Island or from Queens, who is right now a congresswoman or a senator. Please forgive me if I don't know her title exactly, but
Mm-hmm.
she is fighting in court right now because the Democratic Party has um, asked to redistrict her area in order to allow in more Democratic voters, and she is fighting tremendously to keep that district in the same spacing, the same lines of control, because she is a Donald Trump supporter.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
But being in a predominantly Democratic environment, which is New York, right? She knows that if the redistricting happens, she is in a position to lose her seat.
Right.
There is an understanding, I believe, in Donald Trump's administration, connecting it to the immigration policy of this administration, that there is a change in population in America. And in that change in population in America, that there needs to be a different way in which those who are in power can retain that power, and not only retain it for the next 4 years, but to try and change the policies of this country when it regards voting, so that they can remain in power indefinitely.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to say that we always say that the way that we think about things is God, self, family, community.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we think of it. You got to have your
Hmm.
connection to God, and then you yourself. You got to have yourself together, and then you make
Mm-hmm.
sure that your family is together, and then you work on your community. We're talking about a community situation here,
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and
sir.
community situations have politics, just
Hmm.
like in everything else. In everything else, family has politics, community has politics. And what we have to learn to do as community is learn to come together and speak with one voice, have representation, and have the conversation, and then have somebody that goes out there and represents our interests,
Mm-hmm.
and then in representing our interests, they are representing the interests of our community, so that we can do things, and so we can get things. That's what the whole thing of the colonies was about. It's the same thing. It's not different. It's the same thing. It's just that now, and Sister Martha, I mean, they do it down there in Florida. Tell us a little bit about the way that y'all handle that situation, because as a community of people, I'm talking about as far as being Muslim. See, that's where we got to get. We don't come together. As that's what the community wide Shura conference. We don't come together to that degree as far as being together so that we can speak with one voice. Sister Martha?
Yes, starting from the foundation of interfaith, we realized it was recognized that we needed to have a voice, and the voice isn't more in the power of the numbers. So congregations united for community action didn't have to say Muslim or Christian. It was congregations united, and we learned, gave
Mm,
ourselves to learn direct action, and that does not mean just going out and just not having a solution in place. So we communed with the communities, the local people, to inform them, and
mm,
those that wanted to participate did, and there was a representation. So
mm,
yes, maintaining that understanding that the voice of the people has to be heard. Oh, excuse me.
That's right.
and it has to be heard, and it can't be heard through emotionalism. It has to be heard
Right.
through direct understanding, intelligence, and to the point. To the point.
When you say voice of for the people, you mean voice of the people in the community.
In the community, yes,
Right.
the
Yeah.
locals getting together. As we speak out against, rough roads, we speak out against that, and we line up in the city council meetings, and be standing outside. Some of us, okay. So that same energy is applied to studying the laws. We used to just go and vote, and by somebody saying, "Well, I like this person." Well, everybody just corralled like like
Right.
animals and all just voted. And then
Uh-huh.
the representatives in every state, I'm sure, would come to the churches. Well, when the congregations united, Muslim, Christian, Jews, when we united, then those politicians couldn't just run on the coattail of what they're saying. They had to show some prominence about it, about what they've been already doing in the community, not, before they began to try to leverage that as being saying, well, I'm going to move to this district, fulfill the law of that, and then run for office. And then you find out other things coming with that. One thing, and like I say, unity, and a voice with information. I wanted to, if I may, share this information here. Um, where did it go? Right here. Now, this is from a conversation piece. It says back in, don't tell me I lost it. Well, it wasn't meant to be, but it was in reference to the redistricting. And Florida definitely recently had its redistricting problems. Well, because you
Mm.
come with those ill will minds, right? And the Republican Party, as they are of today, they used to be the Dixiecrats. So the mindset was from the Dixiecrats. So if you check out the Dixiecrats, you'll see how they wanted to ambush the system then, and were down they were downcasted about that. So they never, so the support they've come through trying to be the Green Party and other names and whatever. So here we have still a fraction of persons overruling the Republican Party, and now they're just like being summoned to the presidential whims. But like I say, it's not just the president, like you pointed out, Cavell. It's those that are behind the scene, pulling the strings, manipulating, having their will to be, they're commanding the will through the president. So alhamdulillah, so this is not a small thing, and they've managed to go through the years, wade through the tides, and now they're coming forward full force. So, but our energies has to be first applied to continuing to study the policies, continuing to understand the people's rights, every human people, even the persons who are doing this denigrating thing, they have rights. So we have to do that, and do a direct action internally in our local areas, and connect that with our states, and go forward, inshallah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and
Sister Martha. Go ahead, Pop.
yeah, I just wanted to say that that was a very wise move that you all made when you instead of saying like like the Muslim community was like the people's community. What? How did you do that?
It was congregations
The congregations, and see,
united.
that's the united. You see what I'm saying? So it even it shouldn't matter. I mean, people are doing things so that they can get in control. Control for what? So that things will matter as far as they're concerned. But even if they win, you still have to stay together and make the presentation to them that we're still united, and we still are supposed to get a piece of this, and you're still supposed to recognize our interests. Even if you do the redistricting, you still have to recognize us, and we still need people that are going to be able to make the presentation, in situations like this. So if this Donald Trump thing goes through, and we should work for it not to go through. If we should work for it not to go through, it still should be a situation that even if it does, we still are going to what we say your prayer, read your book, and call on your God, and come together as a united congregation to address the issues that affect our community.
Once again, it is, we have these conversations, and these conversations are great. They are complex for the mind, fodder for the mind, because in reality, right, we always survive.
True. Yeah.
The community always makes a way.
Yeah. Yeah. We gonna
Simple,
make a way.
right? Right.
Yeah.
So again, if it is to come to pass that this particular thing goes through,
Yeah.
that is not a precursor to failure or
There you
to
go.
domination
Right.
by any particular group,
Right.
because it's simplistic, right? We engage in this, and as I said earlier, when I said that I've heard people say to me, I mean, basketball is just a man or a sports fan soap opera, right? And so they engage in it and they love it and they can tell you the details and they can go back and forth with you about why this didn't happen or that didn't happen or the business of it or this, that, and the third. But there's somebody else out there who don't even care about it, right? This is just our thing, right? The same thing has to be held true about hip hop, right? In the culture of hip hop. There are people who don't care nothing about hip hop, who don't pay no attention to hip hop. They ain't got nothing to do with it, right? But it's just our thing. And so we care about it. And so we talk about it and we can espouse about it in all of its pieces. And politics is the same. Right. I know for a fact there are people who don't really care about politics and they move through their lives and they could care less about whether or not Donald Trump wants to redistrict or nationalize voting or whatever. They could care less because they don't live their lives engaged in this conversation, this piece of the construct of life that we have added into our construct of life. Right. So there are times that I have stepped away from politics and I don't really know nothing that's going on. I may take 2 or 3 weeks and not even pay attention to the news. And
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. I still eat, I still go to work, we
Mhm.
still laugh, we still
Mhm.
joke, we still
Yeah.
can go
Yeah.
to the supermarket, the train
Right.
still works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all of those
Yeah.
things still
Yeah.
are happening,
Yeah.
regardless of whether or not, we're engaged
Yes.
in this conversation. And so I
Right.
think, again, therein lies what you said, Pop, that life is simple, right? That read your book, say your prayers, call on your God, and continue to move forward because there is a naturalness to things that has nothing to do with man's world, right?
And it's politics. And it's
and
politics.
and and there is, and politics is just another thing where there is a complicated way in which the mind can be engaged in order for folks to have a purpose, right? Instead of the
Yes.
purpose of waking up and going and getting some food, putting on your clothes,
Right. Right.
getting
Right.
to,
Yeah. Yeah.
making sure
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
house is clean, you
Right.
know what I'm saying, that your clothes are clean, right? So again, life goes on regardless of these things.
Right.
But with that said, we still, because this is a part of our construct, are engaged in it and want to see it be done in the proper way. Sister
Yeah.
Martha?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to. I didn't find. I found the immigration. There's quite a contrast. The most revered person, I would say, as far as being a Republican in the 80s, they come up with Reaganomics, gave it a name, right? And
Reaganomics.
exactly. And they were looking forward to that. So in 1980 to 1992, from 80 to 92, you can say he actually served those 12 years through even that the senior Bush. Now, what I want to
Hmm.
point out is in 1989, Ronald Reagan made a final speech as president, and it was an impassioned ode to the immigrants who made America a nation forever young, forever bursting with energy and new ideas.
Hmm.
Contrast this with Trump, who has normalized dehumanizing rhetoric and policies against immigrants. In this year's presidential campaign, for instance, he has referred to undocumented immigrants as animals who are poisoning the blood of our country. So now you see the greater Republican Party president He did decrease. I mean, from the 80s, I was only making $4 and something an hour
Mm.
in the 80s because he put a freeze on income raises.
Mm.
Didn't start $5 until late 18 and 1980s.
Mm.
And so when Clinton came into office in 92 and got the budget balanced. I mean, no matter
Yes.
what he did as his character,
Mm-hmm.
he was able to really get the budget into a sustainable process. They tried it.
Mm-hmm.
They say, okay, because Reaganomics, but Clinton came in and raised the minimum wage. Also, and they thought it was going to kill small businesses. Small business persons were able to hire more people, not just part timers, but hire them
Mm-hmm.
full time and give them
Mm-hmm.
health care. During that period, 92 to 2000, they were going on the thing
Mm-hmm.
for health care being more affordable around the country. Insurance companies, I worked in the hospital where I did nothing but insurance billing to companies. So I got to know the companies well, and those companies ran the country.
Mm-hmm.
They ran the country where they were just overcharging, and it only went higher.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that when 2008, the campaign that we saw between 2000 and 2008, the budget skyrocketed. Everything skyrocketed. So
Mm-hmm.
you can really take a look at just the function, regardless of the person. You look at what function took place, and you can say, okay, we know we were manufacturing before 2016, when 2016 and Trump made his quest to bring manufacturing back.
Mm-hmm.
That is a uh, uh, Clinton made a problem with sending businesses overseas. Now we see it's more conglomerate. There's a conglomerate of interactions with other companies across the waters. Otherwise, Trump wouldn't have the problem of saying tariffs. So I'll leave it right there. We just measure everything.
That's right. We have to remember. And sometimes what I say to folks when I have conversations with them is that I understand we live in the present, but we have a history. And if you look at the history of not only the country, but of the world, there are some clear things that you can see across the board.
Right.
And for us to, as you brought up, Pop, as Sister Martha has brought up, for us to sometimes only live in the present moment and forget that people have survived all of these attempts to normalize control over them, that this is just another attempt. This attempt, like all other attempts, will wind up falling short again, as long as you remember that there is a natural order of things, right? And to bring it back to what we do, we just were discussing our experience when we talk about the movement, and civic engagement and structural change, which you've seen across the globe, not only what you've seen in states, communities, nationally, but you've seen across the globe are folks who are people standing up and saying, I we as people do not agree with this.
Yes.
We believe that we, the people, which is the start of the Constitution of America, we,
Yep.
the people, right? And whether or not the intention was to count all the people, today it represents all the people.
That's right.
And we, the people, have the ability to stand against things that we do not believe are right and true. And you see the effect. I want to mention one thing. When we spoke recently about the shootings in Minnesota and the outrage that it caused across America, Donald Trump and his Homeland Security had to pull back its idea to send troops into other places.
Mm.
He literally had to stand there after saying he was going to send troops to different states all across the country to enforce his immigration policies, he had to say, I will wait for the states to ask me to send in those troops. Completely pulled back from what he had said he was going to do
because it wasn't going right.
Because it wasn't going right.
Yeah.
And the people said, no, though we agree with you that you should target people who committed crimes against children, who committed crimes against women, who have committed crimes that are unjust in terms of the laws that we have in this country, you cannot walk into a school and take a 5-year-old child. You cannot go into a courthouse where people who are following the laws that have been established to become citizens of America and take those people out of there forcefully, and men in mass who cannot be identified as law enforcement in the first place are able to do this without warrants, which is a part of the judicial system in America. Those people have stood up and said,
Bill of
no,
Rights.
we reject that. So again, when the people stand up, people stand up as a unified group, as you have mentioned, Pop, and say, we don't agree. Those who are the minority, who try to control the majority, recognize that there is going to be a problem. That power is not infinite. That power is finite.
Yeah.
Because
and it's important.
The people control how it is that those powers will be allocated to an individual inside of this country. Maybe not in Venezuela, maybe not in China, maybe not in Russia, but when you talk about America, those things are controlled by the people.
Yeah, and it's and we have to recognize the force of the creator of the heavens and the earth on this situation. That, even though there are people who want to be unjust, when the people of America stand up, when you stand up, and when the people of America stand up against the tyranny that people try to put on it, and all across America, there have been protests about this administration and the way that it's operating. That's the force of the creator of the heavens and the earth being on your side. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes because it says that, dear Lord, these people that are doing this, we don't agree with that. We know that that's not how that you have and you want this to go. And this is why we are standing up, because it's unjust. It just gets more technical when you start talking about the whole idea of going into the court and pulling out a person, or going into the school and pulling out a 5-year-old, or shooting, a person that just has a camera, or shooting a woman that 3 times that's in her car, you're shooting her 3 times. And I'm taking into consideration the politics of it, where that it was a white man that shot a white woman, that it was a white man that shot the nurse that was doing a service to his community. That's not what the policy that you said you was going about immigrants. That didn't have anything to do with immigrants. So your policies is not going right. And when people stand up to that degree, they are standing up with the faith and trust that the creator of the heavens and the earth has put in them, to stand up and say, this is not right what you're doing. And as long as we have that, I think that, like Allah is going to be on our side.
Sister Martha, before I close out the show, do you have a final comment?
Yes, let me ask everyone to join us later today at 5 p.m. for contemplations of Imam Wardi Muhammad, being read from the Ramadan sessions by Imam Kareem Hamid and Imam Michael Hameen. That's 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is this the third Sunday? No. And on the third Sundays, we have the reading from the Muslim Journal by Dr. Carolyn Sharifa Muhammad Sharif. And that's at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 9, so next Sunday. But
Next Sunday,
thank you. And tomorrow morning with William Kareem, as he comes with Living in the upload life.
Living in the
Living in
upload
the upload
life.
That's
life.
8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Be here, everyone, on the #1 Islamic broadcasting network, American Muslim 360. Thank you, Kivel, as the quick
Thank you,
hitters
Sister
right here on
Martha.
American Muslim 360, along with the collaboration of A New Day for Al Islam Community Radio, the one number 971-379-9162.
162.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, and I want to say once again, Pop, I appreciate you. I appreciate our American
Alhamdulillah.
Muslim 360 family.
Appreciate
And
you.
of course, a New Day Radio. This has been the Quick Hitters Digital Experience, where we bring voice to the voiceless. If you have any suggestions for future show topics, email us at anu.day@live.com to join the experience today. We look forward to sharing another Sunday with you next week. Thank you to Cultural Insights again, and to A New Day Community Radio and American Muslim 360. It is a new day, community. Never forget that. Until next week, assalamu alaikum.
And let me share too, the William,
Yeah.
the generations that appeared today.
Yes. Yes.
You're in my connection, one generation.
Yes.
Kivel,
That's right.
another generation. Isaiah Abdul Shakur, another generation.
That's
Come on,
right.
everyone. Alhamdulillah.
Let's like bring those generations on, man, because they have opinions also, and we want to connect with them. And so we're going to go out with the Adhan. Until the next time, this evening on American Muslim 360, we say Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Okay, great. All right. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Martha.
Alaikum assalam.
See you next
Alhamdulillah.
time.
Okay.
All right.